Hello and welcome everyone who's watching. Dear friends, the second edition of Spark of Change has already begun, and we divided the conference into three separate areas. Stage number one, which is hosted by Anna, and it's directed to technology. Stage number two, which is responsible for engagement and is hosted by Matthew. And stage number three, or the way I like to call it, my secret confessional, my room, hosted by yours truly, Damian Urbańczyk, and it's dedicated to management. We have prepared for you exuberance of ideas and hints, so feel free to basically migrate between the stages. I hope that you're going to stay with me as long as possible, but even though I cannot guarantee that you'll stay with me all the time, I can assure you that you'll want to stay with us till the end. All right. Let us begin our stage number three, and we'll begin with a big bang. Be like bang, be like boisterous, and be like Burton, Simon Burton. And I'm going to read you very quickly a short bio. If you need more information, you can always type in sparkofchange.online and learn more. Simon Burton is a great entrepreneur in the event industry, having successfully launched and sold events in the world of media, events, and social media. His work in our industry includes trade shows, awards, conferences, and networking events, as well as best-selling book, The Event Professional's Handbook. Let's see, and let's meet Simon. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Damian. How are you?
Oh, you can hear me. That's perfect. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm perfect here in cold, dark, southwest London, the home of tennis, Wimbledon.
I hope we're going to bring a lot of energy into your life. Simon, I have to tell you one thing. I'm very happy to see you in person because the other day I was watching a few interviews with you, and I came across a quick-fire interview when you were asked a question, and I was absolutely gobsmacked, to be quite frank, because you were asked a question: what do you look for in a great entrepreneur? And your answer was so simple, yet so brilliant. And to be quite frank, this is what I would have said if someone had asked me a question: what do you look for in a great event professional? Do you remember what you answered?
I'm going to guess I said something about passion or personality.
Close, but not. You said, I look for the ability to see a problem and solve it in spite of everybody telling you it didn't need solving. And I was like, my goodness, so simple, yet so clever and so true. I guess this ability made you quickly pivot to virtual when the COVID happened.
Well, everyone had the same problem, didn't they? So we all had to make do and mend and be inventive at the start of the pandemic. And Charity Film Awards, one of my projects, was scheduled to happen in April. So yes, we were confronted with a problem we didn't know how to solve, and we had to work out how to do so.
All right. Everyone says, well, it's almost the same thing, but as we know, same, but different. Why virtual events are making event professionals think again about what events mean and how to make them effective. The stage is yours right now, Simon.
Thank you, Damian. Hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world, welcome. Thank you for joining me here on the management stage. I hope over the next 15 to 20 minutes to really just give you a spark, to give you a brainstorm, to give you, I always set myself an objective with an audience. I want to give you one good idea, one new way of thinking that will change the way you address the current challenges we face. So I'll start out by telling you briefly about myself and why I might be qualified to help you do that. I'm a serial entrepreneur in events. I've launched awards and trade shows, but most recently I've been involved in the founding of the Virtual Events Institute. And that's meant I've confronted and met all sorts of people who are addressing the problems that we as event professionals are facing on a daily basis. Now, for any of us who've been lucky enough to visit Southeast Asia and attempted to buy a t-shirt when the size isn't quite right, we'll have encountered this phrase where the shopkeeper says to us, it's same, but different. And I think that is what we are dealing with as event professionals. It's the same problem. We're trying to achieve the same objectives, but it's just a tiny bit different. And it's in that difference that our skill and our passion and our problem-solving abilities will manifest themselves. We're not tearing up the rule book, but we are going to slightly rewrite it. So I want to start with a story of something I saw on Twitter recently. A mum, this lady Rihanna, was talking about explaining the concept of a video store to her daughters. And her daughters said, so if someone in your town was watching Harry Potter, then you couldn't watch it. These two girls then proceeded to laugh for 20 minutes about what for them felt the absurdity of that bricks and mortar experience. One video store, maybe 5 copies of Harry Potter. It makes no sense to digital natives. And many of us have been through that change. In a very short period of time, my 30 years of experience and your equivalent experience in the event industry has been reduced to 30 weeks. People in our industry were often fond of the phrase evolution, not revolution. Let me tell you right now, we are in the middle of revolution. And that change, that sense of the world being turned upside down, will not stop. But the controls we have, the levers we pull, the dials we dial, they are the same. Your skill set, your knowledge, your expertise, your network is just as valuable. You're just going to have to tweak the volume, change the treble, adapt the graphic equalizer in order to make it fit what's necessary in this new world. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about where I think those levers and dials are and help you, I think, reflect and consider differently how you approach the same problems we've always had. Now, there's a great story in this slide here about a traditional physical business which was completely eaten by a digital business. And I think for those of us who are reflecting on current situation, consideration of what Blockbuster didn't do and what Netflix did is a really important starting point for our lesson. And I want to take it a step further. This is the last Blockbuster video store in the world. It's in a town called Bend in Oregon. And it still exists, only it doesn't hire out videos anymore. It's an Airbnb. Events aren't going anywhere. Physical, in real life events are going to come back because people want experience. And we have an opportunity, a unique opportunity to combine the digital with that experience in a moment of revolution so that our future events, whether they're digital, physical or hybrid, can benefit from that opportunity. The first difference I'd like to talk about is your audience. I think one of the bad habits we all fall into as event professionals is being in our seat, in our office, around our boardroom, discussing what the event used to look like last time and what it will look like this time. The first big adjustment I urge you all to make is consider everything from your audience's perspective. Your sponsors, your exhibitors, your delegates, your partners can make every decision about your virtual event from their perspective. Sit in their seat, stand in their shoes. Because your audience has an infinity of choices at their fingertips, and you are playing with their time, their money, their enjoyment, their values, their comfort, their interests, and their distractions in a way that you didn't need to take account in a physical event. You didn't need to worry if the tech failed for a second in a physical event because people were patient. They'd come to your event, they were attending, they were staying still. But in the digital environment, new, something better is only a click away. So there's a very, very high benchmark of quality to cross. Make sure your audience is seen and heard. Think about the ways you're going to engage them. I love the chat room we've got here. I love seeing where everyone's come from. I love hearing the questions. And what struck me about virtual events is when the good ones are allowing audiences' voices to be heard, those very interactivities are happening as the people are speaking in an actual way that didn't happen traditionally in events. So important considerations for you. Don't overestimate your value to the key clients. This is a moment of revolution. Everyone is changing their perspective. So understand in depth what your customers are doing. What's their pain points? How are they adapting? Are they running their own virtual events? Think already about how you can combine the online and in person. Are there packs you can send to people? Can you send them manuals by post? Can you send presents, treats, games, magic effects? Anything you can do to make the event on screen feel grounded in the real world will help you. And I urge you all to think long term, not short term. We're all feeling pain and excitement and anxiety and urgency at the moment. But these opportunities are long term. Do not underestimate the opportunities we're being presented with. I was asked recently if I had £1 million to invest in virtual events, where I'd invest it. And I said I wouldn't invest it in a platform. I would invest it in event professionals creating new formats and creating new events, because that's where the excitement of this opportunity is for me. It's the opportunity for us all to reimagine the value and the engagement we offer our clients. Couple of things I'd urge you not to do. Don't say we're doing physical online. I'm going to come back to that point because it's really important for me. But also don't reinvent the wheel. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we do really well already. Great processes, great people, great knowledge. The wheel works. Keep the wheel. And this is my central idea for everybody who's adapting and stood me in great stead for Charity Film Awards. Focus hard on the emotion and the ideas you want your audiences to exchange and feel, not on the format. Your endeavor when you go online with an event is to translate the emotion, the feelings, the excitement, the spontaneity. Not to replicate in a blow-by-blow way, in a playbook-style way, your old format. It won't work. It's too long, it's too cumbersome, it's too multi-stranded. Think about what the essence is. And one of the ways to think about that essence is about your signature moments. What are they? Are they the opening ceremony? Are they your announcements? Are they your prizes? Are they your drinks party? What are the most important signature moments in your existing events, and how do you recreate them? As importantly, how do you make new ones, new signature moments, new things that make your new event the first edition of something that will last for 20 or 30 years? How do you extend your event horizon? How do you make your community last for 365 days a year? And how do you take into account that even as we speak now, there are people around the world. Some are having breakfast, some are having a glass of wine, some are having lunch. Everybody's experience of a digital event is different because the place they experience that digital event in is different. How do you take account for that? One area that I think we do need to really address and improve as an industry is the way in which we support our speakers, sponsors, and delegates. In physical events, there's so much we can deal with on the spot. We can talk to people, we can manage a situation, we can address a challenge. Much, much harder when everybody's remote. I think we'll see a huge uplift in the quality of those elements and the way in which we rehearse and explain to people what's going on and structure expectations of what the digital event holds for them. I'd like, amidst all the talk about platforms, to really urge you all to think about your social media profiles and polish them, and particularly with your C-suite colleagues. Get them to understand LinkedIn. I'm seeing so many senior people move to LinkedIn during this crisis and this lockdown and really not be very good at it. And social media is such a boon. It's such a great resource to supplement your events, your virtual events, and your communities. that I urge you all to think very hard about what your strategy is for it. A question I'm going to be asked later, I'm sure, so I'll answer it now, is that live or not live, live or pre-record? And what I'd say is, I think that's up to you and your risk set and the way you feel. But I think you need to be consistent. I think, and that means consistent of story, not consistent of live or pre-record, just consistent of delivery. I think you need to think about the importance of rehearsals and tech check and what you do if it doesn't work. And what I would say specifically about pre-records is, even if it's not live, make it feel like it is. Make it authentic. That's one of our virtues. Don't lose our virtue at this moment of challenge. Make sure that even pre-recorded sessions feel like they're live. A brief word about the Virtual Events Institute, of which I'm a founder. We're a resource for learning and training and amazing free content and networking and white papers. And I do urge you to visit the website and check it out. It's a wonderful resource. And I know that some of you who are watching already have gone through the training program, and I'm delighted that you've been part of our journey with us. And finally, I want to end with a huge note of positivity for all of you who are gathered here to learn. Event professionals are amazing in their desire to learn and connect and to share. And one thing we've always been good at since we first created markets and moved on to trade shows and then sophisticated conferences is that together we create amazing content, we create amazing communities, and we create amazing business opportunities for our clients and partners. Thank you for having me.
This is the most important thing, because you shared your knowledge, and even though you covered the topic in a way, I'm going to ask you a very important question. What is the biggest opportunity in virtual events?
I think the biggest opportunity is to reimagine the format. There's a way of delivering an event that is a new format in a new market, delivering a new piece of value. And I don't think we know what that is yet. I think we're starting to see some people explore it, but I don't think we know what that really is. So it's not a trade show, it's not a conference, it's not a webinar. There's something. And I think the technology partners will be part of that journey. But they're not the solution. The solution will come from an event professional. Actually, it will come from an entrepreneur who really understands a market need and solves that market's problem.
Very well said. We have a first question from our chat. Mikhail, I'm looking at the VRBella as a VR platform for the event. Are there any worthy competitors for it?
Well, I'm no tech expert, but I think that VR presents one slight challenge for every organizer in the computing power required by your delegates at the other end is significant. I'm a big fan in those instances of making it as simple as possible to make it, can it be on a tablet? Can it be on a phone? Can it be on my TV? But if you've got a VR project, I'd love to see it. I think I'm a big gamer, so VR ultimately will be a huge part of the mix going forward.
Great. Next question from Christoph. I completely agree with you, Simon. Don't you think that one of the ideas will be thinking about live events as TV shows, only with interaction?
Exactly. I think we need to think about what we're delivering as having TV-like quality. Anybody now watching this, obviously, Damien, they're staying for you, your TV-like quality. But if they're bored with me, they can switch onto YouTube or they can go onto Netflix and watch Game of Thrones. Christos is exactly right. We've got to deliver TV-like quality. I do think one of the places we should go for inspiration are actually things like the Eurovision Song Contest or the World Cup or the Olympics or any reality show. They all have elements that we understand as event professionals, but they have the production quality that we will need to aspire to.
We have to adapt to the new normal that we are right now facing. Okay, we've talked a bit about the biggest opportunity. Let's talk about the greatest challenge for event organizers moving to virtual.
I think the biggest challenge is the huge number of platforms available and the difficulty of understanding which one is right for you and your needs and your clients' needs. I think there's a huge challenge that client companies, exhibitors and sponsors are realizing that there are some of these things they can do very efficiently themselves now. So if we're not offering huge value to them, we lose that as a commercial opportunity. And I think particularly for those people who are trying to adapt trade show models, I think there's a real challenge to show exhibitors how the new online model can work for them, because for too long exhibitors have relied on serendipity and volume, and I think I've talked previously about the idea that how do we keep that serendipity, how do we keep spontaneity? I think that's tied into it, but I think those are the three big challenges.
There have been quite a few changes, but do you think we need to change for example, our job titles, roles, and responsibilities in the world of virtual events? Trivial, but yet interesting.
It's a really interesting question. I think I'm innately conservative about job titles, and yet I understand why you might want to do that. What I would be loath to lose is our sense of event professional. But I have long been an advocate that we shouldn't call ourselves organizers. What we do is way more sophisticated than organizing. I've often argued we should call ourselves event producers, and perhaps that's a kind of interim title which builds on TV and film and the screen and gives us an enhanced status.
I don't know if you know that there was an ancient writer who was Terence, who wrote Fortes fortuna adjuvat, which basically means fortune favors the bold. How bold can we get not to cross the line in the virtual world?
I don't think there is any step we can't take. I think we've got questions about VR. We're starting to see people using holograms effectively. I think we will see every type of solution, from the most simple to the most Star Trek type solution, emerge. And what I want us to do as event producers and event entrepreneurs is think about how we adapt those opportunities to serve our markets, to serve our customers, to help those people make the human connection, that human meeting, that face-to-face contact, that power of emotion that we as event people know is the true power of what we do. We need to work out how to not lose that online, and then once again we will rule the world.
I think what the sentence itself is mistranslated, because it's translated to the fortune favors the bold, but it's actually fortune's the strong. So, and we are basically strong with our knowledge and our ability to change and to adapt. Don't you think so?
I think that's a really nice point. We have enormous power and influence. We are adept at helping two other people come together to forge a relationship. I mean, it's the root of human communication is two people coming together and joining to become one and gathering around a campfire to tell stories. That's what we do. Right now we're doing it through a screen and a microphone, and I'm doing it in my study, not on the stage at a major exhibition center. But our ability to forge human connections and tell stories is incredible power. It's actually beyond power. It's magic, and we have the ability to combine that magic and deliver that magic in the digital world.
I have a question connected right now. Deborah wrote, when you have larger meetings, there are usually breaks which can be useful to socialize, lunch, coffee break, etc. How would you replace that digitally?
There are a couple of platforms that have got that technology in it, and I think it's a really great point. I attended an event, I spoke at an event recently that partly solved that problem by telling people. It was a very English event, so everyone went and got a cup of tea and some biscuits and then carried on the chat. And it felt so human, because we all went to the kitchen and we all made a cup of tea and we all brought some biscuits back. I think that's part of what I mean when I talk about structuring people's expectations and telling them how to behave. let's allow people to do those things, but do them in a fun way. Let's share a recipe. Let's say it should be green tea today. Let's do a virtual wine tasting if it's an evening event. Or let's just say we trust everybody to go away for as long as they want and come back.
To be quite frank, yesterday I hosted a conference which ended up with wine tasting. The participants received bottles of wine, and it was a perfect solution for great entertainment. They had a wine specialist who described every single wine, every single bottle, and they had a shared, basically, activity. It was something absolutely amazing. I do believe that this is also the future of our virtual events.
Do you know what, Damien? I've just had an idea, and it kind of builds on that, and it solves Deborah's problem. Let's imagine a multinational event like this. Every delegate was paired up with another delegate from a different country, and everybody had to send a chocolate candy bar confectionery from their country to the delegate they were matched up with. So we're already matchmaking, but we're doing it around the tea break or the coffee break. So I might send you a digestive biscuit, and you could send me one of those awesome Polish raspberry Jaffa cakes that I buy at the Polski Schlepp down the road, and we would then talk about our favorite confectionery, and we would build rapport using an event format.
Of course, we would hope and pray for our delivery guys to deliver the packages on time, but that's a great idea. As I told you, ladies and gentlemen, brief but yet brilliant ideas. All right. Thank you very much, Simon. It has been a pleasure. Do stay with us, because we have an amazing treat for all the people who specialize in organizing events, and we're just getting started. Once again, thank you for being here with us. Any last words?
Thank you all for having me, and please let's all share our best practice on this amazing journey together. Once again, thank you very much. Have an amazing evening, and I hope it's going to be a bit warmer later. Well, I'm on the panel debate in a couple of hours' time, so I will be having my glass of wine with that. Good for you. I need to wait 2 more hours to open my bottle of wine, but it is also happening. Once again, thank you very much. You gave us a lot of positive energy. I hope we gave it back to you. You did. Thanks, Damien. Thank you. All right. I hope you enjoy our little chat room, our little confessional. I would like to just very briefly remind you that you can freely migrate between our stages. We have stage number 1 responsible for technology, stage number 2 responsible for engagement, and our amazing cozy little room responsible for management, when we are going to plot and discuss and create ideas. Do stay with us, because I'm telling you, it's definitely worth it. Of course, it is also worth to ask questions. Use the chat. If you have any ideas, any questions, something comes through your or goes through your mind, feel free to type them in, and I'll try to read them to our speakers, and they may have a perfect solution for you. So I hope that you are ready for our next speaker. I can see that she is here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Pamela Benitez. Pamela, I'm going to very briefly read your bio. I'm not going to read everything, because I know that all the people who are interested can go to our sparkofchange.online and read the full bio. Ladies and gentlemen, Pamela Benitez has been an event manager with over 10 years experience creating VIP events and corporate entertainment. In 2019, she was part of the exclusive A-list top 35 under 35 agency players by C&IT magazine. She started up the first social enterprise events agency specialized in virtual events after losing her job due to the pandemic. And it was a brilliant idea, might I add. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet Pamela Benitez soon.
Hello, Pamela. Good to have you here.
Hello, Damien. Thank you so much. Can you hear me properly? I know that is always a silly question, but just double
This,
checking.
this is the most important question, basically. I can hear you loud and clear, and your smile brightens up this room.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you very much for the positive attitude. So how has 2021 has been for you?
So far, so good, I must confess. After a very busy 2020 and up and down. And yeah, so far, really, really positive.
To be quite frank, I'm also lucky to have been working quite a lot. But you know what? What I've noticed that many people from our industry are still waiting for the COVID vaccine because they expect the vaccine to change the world, to bring back the normal, basically. And to be quite frank, I think that whether the vaccine is coming or not, the VR events are here to stay. And next thing is basically that it is right now amongst the pandemics, it is fair to say that creating events that give back become definitely more essential right now more than ever. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. And actually, this is one of the reasons that when I discovered what social enterprise, for those that doesn't know, I will just quickly explain. A social enterprise business is still a business. It still needs to make profit, but it is how the profit is handled that defines a social enterprise. The company is actually driven to give back more than half, imagine more than half, to give back or to reinvest in the purpose chosen. In my
That
case, was actually to promote different social causes and help unemployed events manager as I became to find a new source of income.
a true philanthropist.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I hope so.
That's absolutely amazing. But you know, there's so many ways that corporate social responsibility can benefit events. For example, more positive image of companies which support social or environmental issues. All right. So right now, the future CSR virtual events. How to create virtual events that give back. The floor is yours, Pamela.
Thank you so much, Damien. And I will jump on. So thank you everybody that is listening to this, and I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna share my screen. So I really like to go step by step. And as you know, I just told a little bit about the business concept behind. And anyone that wants to discover further, please just come to me and talk, and we can discuss even further. But I'm gonna start with sharing my screen. And why the future is CSR virtual events, and how to create virtual events that give back. So, as I told you shortly, the company is a social enterprise. And the company is a social enterprise that gives back and has a purpose. Not all the company have, but that is okay. You can still also help and create CSR virtual events. Why you should be thinking on doing CSR virtual events right now?
Pamela,
Is that
just a brief request. Please switch on full screen mode if it's not a problem for you.
okay?
It's
Sorry,
gonna be easier.
oopsie.
Don't worry, no worries. I mean, the way you speak
Yeah.
and all the message is so perfect that it wouldn't matter, but it looks definitely better. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. You're more than welcome. Sorry. So the rise of unemployment, this is the stats from UK. So I would imagine other countries is the same. We have now currently 1.69 million people unemployed in the UK by the latest data, and a record in 370,000 redundancies. And we know that in our industry, especially in our industry, was really, really affected. On top of that, we have the increase of mental health issues, with the lockdown, with the restrictions, and many charities now that lost a lot of fundraising and actually got more work due to the pandemic. So how can you, as an event manager or event organizer, can give back and create a CSR virtual event? Simple. Use your event budget to make the difference. It's not a hard science, but once you get it, you can make so much more. Let's just do a social impact calculator because I like numbers. So if you have a 10,000 budget, let's say that this is reasonable for a virtual event, and if you give back only 5% of that, you can actually give 3,050 meals according to the FedEx project. Imagine you saying and doing an event that actually give back immediately. That is like amazing. Step one, let's start on the steps because I love steps. So step one, choose a cause that you want to create the event for. And there is so many out there. Try to think out of the box because some of the causes are most in need because they don't have so much promotion as the big ones. Not that the big ones are not important, I'm not saying that. Every single cause is important, but try to discover different causes and charities and foundations and social enterprise non-profit so you can get actually involved and create the event around that. Think in that perspective. Step two, create the event. In the case of the virtual events experience, we started with the Louis Moodin Foundation that helps to tackle the brain tumor, creating a so well-known virtual teen quiz that is out there in the market, and blending the two of them, where the Louis Moodin Foundation can promote themselves, and at the same time, people can get involved as well. Then Samaritans, for example, that is a cause much in need now, right now, with so many people in need and support. Face Whisperer, it's a body language emotional workshop where you can actually learn how to see how the people are really, not only what they talk, but actually, even if we switch on our virtual cameras, we can actually see the person if they are happy, if they are not happy, and learn how to be more empathetic. And spice it up, that is a more diversity front of the business, because cooking and sharing your own heritage can actually bring the people together to talk about diversity and inclusion as well. Add social enterprises in your supply chain. Now that you know what is a social enterprise and they are business committed to give back, start adding them in your portfolio of suppliers, in your supply chain. Normally, they unfortunately lose a little bit lack of promotion, but they are out there at Social Enterprise UK webpage, and you can find them. I actually, during this company build up, I learned so much, and so many, they are so good, and they are price competitive at the same time, good quality at the same time. Hey, they give back. Example, I would say, Stands for Sockets. They can do amazing branded socks that you can send as a gift for your attendees. And actually, every single socks that you buy, one is donated to a homeless shelter in so much need, because reality is socks are not so much given back in a shop, in a charity shop, and it's actually the #1 item requested. Miss Macaron, they do amazing macaron that can be branded and you can send as a gift, and they help to employ young people and do like a program where they teach how to do the macarons as well. Social Stories, they have beautiful hampers. Every single product give back. As the social supermarket, for those that doesn't know as well, really, really strong and good. You can see here one example. Imagine how beautiful to be you being the change hero and buying, using your budget to give back in a small things on a hamper. Every single item is given back to a cause, and they are amazing. Step 4, finally, create your social impact report. That could be your power in your hands to convince your MD, your business owner, your marketing director, why you should be spending creating that event, and what is the return of the investment. It's actually the return investment of good that I call. You're giving back directly from your event and helping somebody in need. So that's it. I don't know if I was quick or I took a while, but I hope that you enjoy.
Of course, I think we all enjoyed it. You were very quick, very concise, but very, very heartwarming. I would have to say. You know what? I don't want it to sound like bragging, but like I think like 2 years ago, I came up with the idea of social media action, which was called "Work to Help" #Work to Help. I from time to time I put an advert, for example, on social media and groups responsible for events creating, and I said, for example, okay, this month I have this and this and this day off, this free. So if you have an event and if you contact me, I will give you first a very good deal, and all the money will go to charity.
Oh,
And all the
wow.
money will go to charity. And you know what? The feedback was very good, very positive, because I think every single one of us, whatever we do, we can create a reality that will give back.
Exactly. And the thing that I want to leave out there in the minds of anyone that is an event organizer, you actually don't need to do like lose your event quality. In fact, some of these suppliers on adding social enterprise in the supply chain can be even giving you better quality as well, and price competitive, and at the same time you can report that in your CSR annual report. That makes the difference in terms of choosing to actually be more social conscious with the budget that you have in hands, because everybody can do a little bit. And so imagine, I like that calculation about 3,050
I
meals,
absolutely
because
loved it also. I loved it also because it's very powerful.
yeah, if you think about what is 500 in your budget that you would spend with perhaps branded something, take out the branded something, put something, give back. So then you can actually, feel that event and make the participants of the event aware of it. Is it really important? Because sometimes we want to be like anonymous and don't mention, but actually, in fact, they need to be mentioned, because if somebody start helping, the other will start helping, and that generates a big power in terms of giving back. So if every single corporate company out there start to use a little bit of their budget to incorporate a CSR action in their event, oh my God, we can definitely make the events even more powerful. And yes, I'm talking about virtual events, but hopefully when the live events come back as well, you can keep doing the same, the good back. And that is the message that I want to leave out there.
That is, first of all, it looks good, but the most important thing is that it feels good. It feels good to be able to help other people, but basically doing our job.
Exactly, doing our job. And on the virtual world, like we saw so many trends, like the trend number one, like trying to figure out what was the tech out there, more powerful, more, that is important. There is different events for each station. Then the trend number two, let's engage. Then number three, let's keep it simple. And now let's give back. Let's give back, because that is actually what is needed right now.
I mean, you are so inspiring, really. You inspired me. All right, so guys, I have a announcement. If you have, and I'm being serious right now, if you have an event planned for example, February, and you need a host, let me know. And first of all, I will give you a very good price, and then the money will go to charity. Every single penny of
Wow.
will go to charity. This is how inspiring you are, really.
I might catch you first. So hurry up, people.
Go for it. All right, but let's go back to our talk. I have our chat. First of all, Tasia wrote, Pamela is a rock star. I cannot agree more.
I don't know who said that, but thank you.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Tassia or Tassia, Tassia. Pamela is a rock star. Thank you very much for this statement. The next one, really interesting. Sounds like a great initiative. All right, very important questions. How do you think companies can capitalize on putting on a socially responsible event?
How they can capitalize? One, if you team up with a charity or cause, you might get so many social pushes from their side that will help to expand your event and promotion and perhaps audience as well. In the terms of capitalization, I'm creating events as it stands and I'm giving back, but my business model is a social enterprise, so it's slightly different because once ends the year, I need to make the counts, give more than 51% and prove that I did that. But other companies can definitely team up with different causes and support them.
All right. Tell me, Pamela, for example, how can I incorporate more social enterprise suppliers, for example?
That's very simple. And there is a webpage just in UK. So you just Google Social Enterprise UK. They are the regulator of who is a social enterprise and who is not, because they check if they are actually doing what they promise to do, which is good, because otherwise anyone could say that they are social enterprise, and then they certify them. So there is a browser there where you can Google. Imagine for example, my printing, everything that is printing, I'm using a company called Trojan Mailing. And why? Because they are a social enterprise, and their goal and what they do is they employ people with mental health issues in their company. So they keep giving jobs for people with mental health issues. So here we go. It's simple. You need to print, you need to do a banner, you need to do an invite, you need to send anything inside of a box, and you can search there. It's really easy, very easy.
This answer covers a bit my next question, which is how could I make sure I'm buying from a CSR company, social enterprise, for my event?
I must say that my company is the first social enterprise in virtual events. So you always need to see, normally we have the budget from Social Enterprise UK. You can see on my website that I have the budget certified. And other social enterprises that are out there that can help, like Miss Macaroon or Stand for Socks, they have like the Buy Social stamp, and they also have the mention about Social Enterprise UK. And if you are still in doubt, just go on the website of Social Enterprise UK, Google their name there, and there we go. You're going to find if they are a social enterprise or not.
That is an amazing hint for all of us. All right. Deborah wrote, awesome, Damien. I wish I had an event. Next time, Deborah, next time, definitely. But once again, I'm repeating this because I got so inspired by listening to you. And I think we can all chip in to making this world a better place. So once again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. If you are planning and doing and creating an event in February, let me know. All my salary will go to charity. This way we'll be able to help those in need. All right, Pamela, what was the best CSR virtual event you've done so far?
It's really difficult to choose one, but...
All right, unfortunately you have to. Oh, wait, two.
Two.
And,
okay.
of course, and give me also an explanation. What made them so special?
Okay, I think the first one I would say that is the virtual team quiz with Louis Moody. That was actually sold for one client that unfortunately it's a laboratory, but I cannot disclose what is the brand. But they decided to combine that event with wine tasting together, wine and cheese tasting. And I would say, answering your question, the two of them combined on the same one event was perfect. One, because the group start to do the divided in teams. They did the team quiz with Lewis Moody, that is inspiring, former rugby player, captain of England team, and he's actually the one that looks after the Lewis Moody Foundation that helps to tackle brain tumor. It's something that I didn't know when I met him. He actually said that actually a lot of young people is affected by brain tumor, and it's really sad to see that. So that event definitely. And the other one that was the wine and cheese tasting, I heard Simon Burton talking about the wine and cheese tasting with you. That one was amazing because gave back from that. I took out from the profits and I gave back a course in virtual events by the media house to an unemployed event manager. So she could be certified by the media house and potentially find a new job in the new normal. So I think these two events were good because the energy behind and the MED coming and saying and explaining the give back part to all participants generated a domino effect. Everybody went to the website of the Lewis Moody Foundation and started to donate even further, even if they didn't need it and they was not asked to. So it was really beautiful to see that event was virtual, gave back, engage, pamper the people that was out there, and on top of it, gave back for 2 times, like for the event manager that learned a new skill, and for the foundation that got 5% immediately as well from that profit of that event specifically. And then after the donations, and hopefully when I close my year, even more, because I'm going to be splitting parts of it for the charities as well, partners.
I mean, tasting wine and helping others, that sounds like a perfect job for me.
Who could say that, no?
All right, we have
Yeah.
we have our next question by Ndoye, written by Ndoye. Given that presenting in front of a camera for a virtual event is different than live on stage, should one invest resources to find someone who excels in this new environment rather than pick up anyone just because it's virtual and you don't have to move physically?
100% they should search for the best people that can speak. I've been in some virtual events that unfortunately they couldn't interact so well, and that killed the mood. That killed the topic itself. And if you have a host like you, Damien, look, he made the pledge. If you have a host like you and interacting and making the event so much smooth, definitely will make the virtual event even better.
Tell me one more thing. I saw this question appearing and it disappeared suddenly. I want to know, how do you find companies to work with? Because very often big companies have their charities connected, basically, or favorite ones that they give to. So how do you find companies that are interested in working with you?
I actually, this client, the laboratory that I did the event, they do have their charity. Actually, they are close to, but that didn't put them behind to actually help others as well. So I never came across with any company saying, "Oh, I need to give only for my charity or for this charity that I work with," because reality is they are buying the service of my company itself. So which is linked from my profits to give back. So it's not like something that they are directly giving back from their company, but they give indirectly. In that sense, that makes simpler, I would say, for them.
That is true. I have this question. It was Louise who wrote, have you found that some big corporations already have certain charities they are partnered with, and how can you work with them? That was the exact question that appeared on the chat.
And just another note, you're selling the concept as you sell any other events concept, because for example, the Face Whisperer, that is a body and language workshop and emotions as well, which is really important. Like here, Can you measure if I'm happy, if I'm sad? Maybe not, but after when you do that workshop, you will be able to say, oh, I know how Pam is really, really feeling. And that is giving back to Samaritans, and that blend really well. That's the reason that I said on the step 1, choose the cause and create the event around that cause, because that will make the event be more blended, more concise and more correct, and that will sell actually.
I do believe and I do hope that you are happy right now, because first of all, you are smiling and your eyes are also smiling, which is a very, very good sign. Oh, one last question, if you don't mind, because I would like to know what is the hardest, the toughest thing when it comes to creating a CSR event? What are the obstacles that you can face?
The hardest thing, I would say, when I had that idea to create this social enterprise, create every single experience, giving back immediately on top of my social enterprise purpose. The hardest thing is actually, to believe it or not, to get the charities working with you, because they need to be careful. They need to be careful. They need to follow compliance, but it's not impossible. It's possible, but that is actually the hardest thing. And now they are very open because they need fundraising ideas as well. They need support, but making sure that your company is fully comply with all the laws, making sure that you have a contract in place, make sure that you communicate, and then try to make so much about your company, makes more about the charity and the cause, and that's what is needed as well. So that was the hardest bit of it.
It may sound strange what I'm going to ask you, but have you always been this philanthropist type?
Well, actually, my first event when I was in the university was to give back, and I created a team, and we did this. I'm from Brazil, so my university I was studying hotel management in Brazil, and we had this campus celebration, anniversary celebration, and the events division needed to create what type of event they're going to do to celebrate the university anniversary. So I was inside of the group, and we decide together to every single area will provide their expertise. So the events management, we were responsible to bring the food, the drinks for a community that was living nearby the university that was really, really poor. So they could have that day to actually celebrate, but with food, with drinks, with support from IT to create like email, for example, because they were very, very poor. We even partnered with the government, and we brought in to do registration for ID, because there's some people, believe it or not, in that location didn't even have ID, so they could do on site on that day, so they can just come close and walk and do the ID. We also team up because the city is like nearby the Paraguay, which retains a lot of toys because they resell. So we team up with the police, and all that toys that they had in their department, we actually gave back to the kids from the community on that day. So that actually was my first event.
All right. Thank you very much, Pamela. Obrigado.
De nada.
All right. Thank you once
Daniel.
again for staying here with us, for brightening up our evening. Once again, thank you very much. Also, stay with us because we have so many important things to say and so many good things to come. Once again, thank you very much, Pamela.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.
As you can see, this is participating in our conference is a perfect way to learn new things, but also to awake new thoughts in your head, as they appeared also in mine. Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, I would like to encourage you to actively take part in our conference. Of course, writing questions on our chat. I'll try to read them to our speakers. And talking about speakers, the next one is Pleydell. Davis, and Pamela was called a rock star, and here right now we have a real rock star. Paul Davis started his career managing and promoting international DJs, bands, and a record label, and worked with acts like U2, the Chemical Brothers, and Fatboy Slim. Wow. The first thing. He is now founder and CEO of Davis Virtual Events Agency, a leading online event company that creates groundbreaking events for clients and audiences all over the world. More information in Paul's bio. You can find it on sparkofchange.online. Go there to find a bit more about Paul Davis. We'll see him after the short break. Good evening, Paul. How are you?
Hello, Damien. How are you?
Perfect.
As is customary now, I have to check. Can you hear me and can you see me?
Of course, I can hear you and I can see you, and you look absolutely flawless. So let me start by saying that. All right. I'm going to ask a question to our audience, guys. How often do you watch, for example, a webinar and then end up doing something else? And don't you dare say that it's happening right now, because we're doing our best to keep you entertained and keep you active at all the time. Remember, don't get bored, just get on board with us. All right, Paul, It is quite difficult, because when you create a face-to-face, a normal, regular event, it's quite easy to keep people, I would say, sometimes even awake. When you create virtual event, it's definitely more difficult, first of all, to keep them active, to keep people engaged, and to check if they are actually engaged. So what are your hints on doing that? So engaging audiences and the power of virtual hacks. Paul Davis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to just share my screen if I should. And let's see if it works. So just let me know if this works with you now. Is that okay? Hello? Can you still hear me? So I'm just going to make sure this is all working now. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We have plenty of time. Technical issues.
Okay.
Full screen.
Can you see my screen now?
Of course, I can see your screen. You can do it on full screen.
Okay. See it now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Okay, look, well, thanks a million, Damien, and thanks to Nick in the background there for helping out. It's really good to be invited to speak at Spark of Change. I have to say, I really enjoyed listening to Simon and Pamela earlier on as well. And, you know, the passion is, I guess, from events is what it's all about, really. It's quite, you know, that's what gets people into running events. And I think that's really been shown in the last year, and people I've met and that I know in the industry who have kept alive and changed and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I run Dave's.
Oh, Paul, do you hear me? Could you please exit the presenter mode and just do it on full screen?
No problem.
Because we are seeing the presenter mode right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a huge problem, but...
No problem. That's okay. Is that better?
Is it okay, Nicholas?
Is that better?
It's perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that, guys.
Don't worry about that.
This is the joy of remote events and being in different places all at the same time. But thanks for your help in the background guys. So I was just saying there, yeah, like, you know, I've been running events for about 10 years in events agency, and lucky enough to get to work with some of the best companies in the world, you know, in government agencies. And before that, I worked in more music and that kind of stuff. In the last few years, been running events, you know, doing city takeovers, major events in city centres, doing all sorts of cultural activities for governments and that kind of stuff. We can see a lot of the pictures there that we don't see in the last year or so, and we all miss those kinds of events. And, you know, we've run like pride events and employee engagement, and they're, you know, setting up conferences and waiting around for people to start, and the meet and greet at conferences. all the exciting buzz that automatically creates that kind of anticipation and chemistry and magic around a corporate event or a cultural event or an in-person event. There are the bags. We all remember filling the bags there before and handing them out in the lanyards, and then people on stage, and your live audience there right in front of you. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but employee engagement is a key part of a lot of the events that we've been working on for years and years, and how to keep people engaged and motivated and happy in their jobs, like what we see here, from Pride and from corporate events and that kind of stuff. And like you guys here, I'm at home working today, and I have been for much of the last sort of months. And just like I did when I founded my own startup, so I'm back to working at home again, and all of my colleagues and employees are working in their own homes. And we use studios as well, like yourselves there today. But today I'm helping to homeschool my daughter Quiva as well, as we're in lockdown here. So that's been a great experience. And I've learned a lot from this and also from her. And, I suppose I'm remembering one time in the last couple of years when Quiva came home from school with some posters and flyers that she created for the marriage equality referendum. There was a referendum in Ireland on whether or not to legalise gay marriage in Ireland. And so she and her school friends used crayons and colours and paints and made their own campaign materials with their own hands. They did it because they believed that everybody should be able to make their own decisions about their own lives. And that really reminded me of the power of simple communications, the human connections and inspiring people to do things, that they have to be emotionally touched. People have to be engaged emotionally. People remember and they're influenced by how they feel more than what they see or what they hear. And we've learned this over years and years of running events, and other people have learned it and they've helped us to understand it better, Before I ran brand and corporate events for several years, I managed music festivals and clubs and other events like that. And as Damien was nicely saying earlier on, I worked with DJs like Fatboy Slim and Carl Cox and the Chemical Brothers and people like that. In that space, the audience usually comes away feeling new and refreshed and inspired or changed. But it was easy to do because the audience was there in front of us. They were engaged. Like in this video that hopefully is going to work for Nick, if you could play it now, please. It's the Homelands one.
Hey girls, beat boys, superstar DJs. Here we go!
Festivals like this are like the Woodstock in the 90s.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this since I started DJing more or less.
Hey girls,
The benefit is it's livelier than any other festival I've been to because it's the first one for Ireland.
here we go!
10 years we've been waiting for this. This is what this country should have had a long time ago.
It won't go away. It won't go away. And the more people ignore us, the stronger it becomes.
Whoever's not here, you've missed one of the best nights over the last 10 years in Irish music.
Here we go! Here we go!
Is this Slane? Are they Homeland?
Please do not be alarmed, remain calm.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. That was a lot of fun. And that was an event that I was lucky enough to be involved in running 20 years ago in Ireland, believe it or not. And as you can see from the technology, at the time, the technology wasn't very advanced. And you can see that from the video there compared to today. And the conditions were challenging, but the human chemistry was really powerful. And without really knowing it, we tapped into the zeitgeist. It was a seminal moment for that generation in Ireland. It was a coming of age, if you like. And the event is still marked out today as a key moment in popular culture in Ireland. And the brands that were associated with that event have benefited from the legacy. We obviously keyed in a lot of brands into it. And until about a year ago, my business was creating and producing corporate events, conferences and brand activations for large tech companies and government agencies. Our client's objective, as our colleagues and other people talking here today, was always to engage with their audience, to influence their audience or to change their audience in some way. And we had lots of success. It was great. And things were booming until about a year ago. But when we were working in this live and in-person events world, we tried to create experiences really memorable experience to change people's lives forever. I have a little clip here of another video that Nick will play. Please, Nick. Thanks for your help there. And then this happened. So if we could just play the next little clip, it's just a couple of seconds. So when COVID came along, we had to put the word virtual into the company name as everybody else. It wasn't that simple, obviously. I mean, the world changed, the world ended in many ways, and we were lucky enough to be able to pivot and turn our attention to online events and virtual events. And it's been a fantastic, exciting and rewarding journey. I have to say, we've got to work closely with our clients, with industry colleagues to solve new problems together. And our former competitors and are now our colleagues and our partners and our friends. And as we all know, we can all produce great events, and we can do it now online, thanks to the magic of technology and to the work done by many of our colleagues here today, and the kinds of people who are creating and working through and developing platforms and various different technologies that help us deliver virtual events to our clients. And like this one here, compared to one of the photos from earlier on, this is the streets of Dublin, which we were lucky enough to get to film on for our client, but they're empty, no people, no buses, no anything. But our clients have come on a journey with us, from accepting a very basic and grainy and shouty video calls to expecting and demanding a high quality broadcast standard look and feel to online events. And this is great because budgets are following this journey. When we started helping our clients with virtual events, they expected that we could deliver online events for virtually free. So now clients expect to have to at least make a modest investment in their virtual events, but they do want and expect a high quality production. And like I said, it's really good listening to other people in the industry talking here today. And this is a great event to really, probe all of these issues and challenges. Engagement is the challenge now, though. And again, as it was before, when we started running great live events, the challenge was always to engage, to be memorable, to connect and make people feel something. So with online events, we've had lots of success with tactical and kinetic engagement. We've introduced games and quizzes, food and drink delivery to the homes of employees and to the guests at the events, gifts, goodie bags, swag bags, leaderboards, and treasure hunts. And we've managed some great shows with one-to-one video networking, expos where exhibitors can speak directly to attendees and by video call and in room. And just like this event here today, and I heard Simon and others talking about other events and platforms that you can use, the technology is really fantastic. I've been lucky enough to use some great platforms for our clients and for exhibitors and for people able to connect. And the data collection, the analytics is pretty awesome. But we know that we're competing with all the things that are happening on people's other devices, on other platforms, in people's homes, just like here today. And as you said, Damien, earlier on, people can leave the room, they can go make a cup of coffee, they can switch to another event, you can go out and get your work done, and you can go to the kitchen, make your dinner, you can look after your children or your pets at home. So we're now competing with all of this. When before COVID, we had our audiences right sitting in front of us, captured for a few hours in the room, and pretty much they couldn't leave, so they had to listen to us whether they liked it or not. And now they have choice. And as event producers, our job has always been to be creative. People turn to us for the solutions, for the creative solutions to get over these kind of challenges. So engaging with an audience, it's really the main objective for our clients. Like the technology is there, and it's a process we have to go through to make it work better for us. And we're really grateful and lucky to have such amazing technology people at our that we can work with, that are developing fantastic tools and platforms. But we need to try and influence the audience or to change their behavior for our clients. And that's the biggest challenge ahead, I think. The technology will be awesome and we can use great technology, but I think it's up to us to still make that human connection. So whether it's to try and get employees to want to stay with their company, or attract employees to a company, or get consumers to want to try or buy a brand, or to encourage sales teams to try harder and sell more, that's the same challenge we had before, except it's more difficult now. And for the last 10 years in my business, we've been trying to find ways to do this with the audience right in front of us, in the room or in the arena. And now we need to do it with the audience on the other side of the screen. So like I said, we remember how we felt more than what we saw or what we heard. I know this myself from running clubs and gigs back in the early days, but we've got evidence about this kind of stuff now. We know that real engagement is emotional. We need to make our audience feel something rather than just see and hear something. Because as I said, we remember how we felt more than what we saw or what we heard. And at Davis Virtual Events Agency, last week we were lucky enough to arrange an interview with a really special young man called Adam King for our virtual Science and Technology Careers exhibition. Adam is a really special child and he's passionate about science, technology and space. We can learn a lot from Adam. So we've just got one last video here, if you wouldn't mind playing it for us, please, Nick.
Space mad. And you've also got something else in your hand there, Adam. What have you got? What's in your hand there? This is what's got us all. This is what's made us all fall in love with you, and more people in love with space as well, because of your virtual hug. It's fantastic.
It's really exciting.
And Adam, you have an absolute passion about Capcom. Can you tell us when you realized that you wanted to be Capcom? Because it's a really important job.
Well, my brother Danny told me that I couldn't be an astronaut because I have a condition, but then he said that I could be ground control, but then he said that I could actually be Capcom captain of ground control.
Yeah, and Capcom is a deadly job. And for people who don't know about space, Capcom is the person that talks directly with astronauts when they're on mission, whether they're on the moon, whether they're orbiting space, whether they're orbiting Earth. That's what they do. There's a very special question I have to ask you, Adam, with your amazing virtual hug. If there was somebody that you could send your virtual hug in space to, who would you give it to?
Krista McAuliffe's family, because she was a very good teacher and a very good mother, and she's so inspiring, and she worked very hard to be an astronaut.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? And she was only with us for a very short period of time, but she had all schools and everything behind her. So that's a really, really nice hug to send to. So yeah, so let's think about Krista McAuliffe from 1986 from that space shuttle mission. That's lovely.
Thanks very much there, Nick. And that was Adam talking to our MC at an event last week. So Adam's become a star in Ireland and internationally because he touched people's hearts. He triggered emotions that people are feeling. He makes people feel better and more hopeful and inspired. Adam's naturally generous. His initial instinct is to give a gift to strangers for free. He gives strangers a virtual hug to make them feel better. It's cute and it's quirky, but it's also incredibly powerful. Adam is giving to people that he doesn't even know, and he's not expecting anything in return. And that's authentic and it's real. Adam's on a TV kids show in Ireland, and since his appearance, he's had calls from NASA astronauts, from Commander Chris Hadfield, and from many celebrities and superstars. But more than that, he captured the hearts of the public. When we promoted the clip of Adam that he was going to be on the event on social media, the event's Twitter feed exploded. So many people wanted to see and hear the interview with Adam. Our client's objective was to get young people more interested in science and technology by bringing in large companies to meet them in a swanky virtual world full of technology and tools and tricks. But Adam turned more people on and tuned more people in than any of our production tricks could. As an event producer, this experience really reminded me that our content is more important than ever. And creating an emotional connection with our audience is essential if we're to stay relevant and succeed as an event technology and the virtual events sector. I've realized that what was important before COVID-19 is still important. Connecting people, creating memorable experiences, and amplifying brands' messages and communicating. We still need to put clients' aims and objectives to the forefront, but for a while we need to find different ways to do that. As an industry, we have an enormous opportunity ahead of us. We're lucky to have some of the best minds in the world creating and developing technologies for us to use. But it's still up to us to remain creative and find solutions to always make emotional connections with our audiences, wherever they are. We need to take a strategic approach to engagement and human connection. That means making content that can connect with people and affect how they actually feel. This often happens naturally in the live environment, like the gigs I used to run. I didn't realize what was happening, that people actually went away feeling different and were emotionally charged. With engaging speakers or live music performance. Now, working across digital platforms, we have to work harder to try to make our audience feel something and remember something. We have to be generous with ourselves and with our own personal experiences. Part of the solution for companies is to let your employees tell their stories first. It's to share their experiences, their challenges, and their journeys in the workplace, in schools, in colleges, and in the community. When our clients are organizing events or taking part in or sponsoring events, we sit with them and we ask ourselves, what can we bring to this party? How can we make the event better by taking part? And how can our involvement improve the overall experience? To make a real impact, we need to reflect the experiences of our audience, of our colleagues, of their employees. And we need to translate that story into a piece of theatre and drama, and to make a heartfelt connection with our audience. In the virtual events world, we have to remember to focus on human emotions, and this will bring audience engagement to a higher level. If we share our own feelings, our own emotions, our own experiences, we can create that longer lasting engagement. So thanks again for inviting me to talk here today, Damien.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. And let me just start by saying that it was a really powerful roller coaster of feelings, your presentation, because you started on a personal note, telling a story of your daughter, Quiva. Is that her name?
Yes, that's very good. Yeah, well done. Thank you.
Fighting for marriage equality. Please do make sure that she knows that Uncle Damien is sending her loads of hearts,
okay.
Loads of love. Then you totally disoriented and confused our viewers, because chemical brothers, come on, man, like, hey boy, hey girl, I started jumping and dancing here. I think our viewers were so confused. They were like, I think this is the after party. I even say, like, Irina, the chemical brothers, one love. Pamela Benitez also said, thank you, Paul Davis, from Pamela Benitez. And then you ended up with a very important and very heartbreaking, at the same time heartwarming story of Adam. Thank you very much. As you see, it was such an amazing presentation. We have no questions from so far from our viewers, but okay. I have some questions of my own, if you don't mind, of course.
Yeah.
All right. How can we engage attendees at virtual events and create deeper connections with brands or content?
Well, that's a really good question, Damien, because I think that's probably the most difficult thing. That's the biggest challenge that's arisen and that will arise. And I heard people speaking earlier on, Damien and Pamela and others, about whether or not virtual events will be here for the longer term, and they probably will, and it will probably be a mix. It'll probably be a hybrid. So we have to learn how to get people to engage, or do we build in the fact that people will be doing other things, that people will be attending an event online, but also doing something else, maybe and popping in and out. We found on our events so far, we've been lucky to have, a reasonable amount of business in the virtual event space, that the numbers are higher. So more people engage, more people come to events from a broader spectrum of places and demographics. But there might be people coming in and out. So that's very, very different. And how to, I guess, get value out of that and derive value out of that is to, maybe we don't necessarily want to make people stay for the whole thing, but to have it compartmentalized like you've done here today. So there are pieces, bite-sized pieces that people can pop into and pop out of and find and create their own itinerary. And just like you might at a real event, you know, where you can go along and you can create your own sort of journey and your own experience. And I think people need to be given much more choice. And because people are used to, on a digital platform, people are used to streaming and on-demand consumption. And this is becoming a lot like consuming content. So that's something I think we have to bear in mind as well. And there can be competition then as well from digital marketing world and digital marketing agencies where, you know, people might think that's all it is, but that's not all it is. It's not just about chunks of content, because it needs to be woven together. And we need to understand what the objective is and try and get people to connect with it. So it's an evolving process, you know, but I think we have to remember that people are human at the end of the day, and there has to be an emotional connection. People have to have a reason why they want to connect with our events.
If I may use this comparison, for me, like a good conference or a good virtual event should be like a well-done patchwork or quilt, made from different pieces, but all together creating one item that is strong enough and beautiful enough to basically be helpful or to be needed.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Yeah, I mean, it has to hang together as something that's effective and has purpose, but also has to touch a lot of different touch points.
I have one question that appeared, and I just wonder what your answer is going to be. Is there a difference financially between running in-person events and virtual and hybrid events?
Well, Damien, yeah, I mean, to be honest, we were running virtual events as part of in-person events for years and years. There was always a streaming component to it, but it was very few people watched. It was only really for technical purposes in case one or two people couldn't, or we had one person maybe coming in virtually. But now, you know, since COVID, I guess the revenue coming in from virtual events was probably about 10% at the start, to be honest. And companies did expect, because they started off doing stuff themselves and doing, you know, employee meetings and that kind of thing, using Teams or Zoom or whatever, and people have used their own platforms as well internally. People didn't really see, companies and corporations didn't really see that there's a cost involved. And they're learning now that you need to invest, like you guys have done a great job today. You need to invest in all the technology and the studio and the graphics and the marketing and the content to create a good experience that people will stay engaged with. So that is happening. I mean, at the start, the revenue, the costs, it does cost money to run a good virtual event. It does cost money, and it's probably the same as an in-person event. But what people expected to pay was much less. So people were only prepared to pay, I guess, around 10% at the start a year ago. And now that has come up, and I guess it's probably 50, 60% now and rising. So it still has a bit of a way to go. But I mean, I think everybody's learning, and our clients are all learning that, you know, to get a good product and a good result, and investment is required, you know.
That is true. I have one question from Pamela Benitez, and I'm going to ask you for a brief answer. For you, if you need to choose one best virtual event to organize, what would it be?
Oh, I guess it will be Burning Man or Lollapalooza. If we got the chance to have a go at one of those.
So
that would be a lot of fun.
Keeping my fingers crossed, basically, for you. All right. Thank you very much once again, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Davis. Give him a round of virtual applause.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, dear viewers, right now, it is time we met our next speaker. I can see her waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, Annette Naif is an event producer, strategist, speaker, coach, host of a ton of events, live show and podcast, and the CEO and creative director of Naif Productions, where they produce corporate, social, non-profit and wedding, and help event planners around the world create a six-figure business with system, strategy, and team so they can accomplish all of their financial goals without compromising their quality of life. This is a very brief info about Annette. More you can find out on our web, which is sparkofchange.online. Go there, more bio of Annette, and we'll be back with her after the short break. Hello, Annette. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I am perfect. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Of course, my phone rang just as you were bringing me on, because that's virtual, right? That's the craziness of what we do.
Anything can happen.
Fantastic. I'm wonderful. I'm here in New York City.
What's the time there?
I'm sorry?
What is the time right now?
It's 2:30. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right. So a good way to start the afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to tell you one thing, Annette. I've been really looking forward to meeting you in person because you strike me as a Renaissance woman.
Oh.
Yes, a person who knows how to do absolutely everything. And even if she doesn't, she knows the right people.
Yes.
Isn't that so?
Well, that is true. That is true. I am a big connector in this industry. I've been in the industry for 30 years, or more at this point. I think I just stopped counting at 30 years. But yeah, I mean, that's the key to being a successful event producer is, is having the resources, like knowing how to get the resources of what you need to get done. So yeah, and I used to run the Event Planners Association for the New York chapter in New York City. So when you run a chapter of an association, it's definitely, you learn, you meet a lot of people. And that was kind of the goal when I first started my business, basically, because I've had my business 11 years. So it's a whole nother animal when you're running your own business.
I know that. I know that. I did my little research, and I'm going to ask you one thing, because I saw a video you produced, I think like 2 months ago, in which you said that you absolutely hate recording yourself. And I call it a bluff. I think this is a blatant lie, because how can you dislike something that you are so good at?
You're so sweet. Well, I've gotten much better. So when the industry, everything shut down, and in New York, it's a mess right now. We still don't have restaurants open, so it's really, really, really sad. But when we first shut down, I, had to figure out what to do, and I had to figure out, I needed to get visible. And so I thought, all right, as much as you hate being in front of the camera, I'm a behind the scenes kind of girl. You need to get in front of people and start talking about this. And I wanted to help my colleagues, in the business, because everybody was suffering. And I really, felt like I need to try to bring our community together and bring, professionals that are really thought leaders in our industry together and help people and, with their businesses and what to do. So it's been a year now, almost a year. And so I'm a little more comfortable now in front of the camera. So it's definitely changed, but anything you're uncomfortable with, if you keep, doing it, it's second nature, just anything, right? So it's fun that you think back on those fears, and it's gone now, so.
I mean, to call it a work in progress is a huge misunderstanding, because this is perfect, basically.
Thank you so much, thank you.
We all know that we are all facing basically the same problems during the pandemics, and some of us have more problems because restrictions are harder in some countries. But where do I start if I want to host a virtual event? Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing you should do is find people who are professionals and know what to do. I mean, you really shouldn't try to go off on your own. When I first started talking about this, at first I thought everybody knew I was going to be doing virtual, like Paul mentioned, the previous speaker, who was fantastic. That was a very, a great talk that he had. You have to get, it is a different animal. It's different than going live, and you get advice. So if you get someone who is experience this area. Like he said, we've been doing a virtual live stream aspect to many of our events over the years. Not a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon, but we now have a lot. I'm doing a live event for the first time in a year in Orlando. It's a 3-day event, and we have to follow all the procedures, and it's a little struggle. I just got off the phone with the hotel because we're now making the ballroom bigger and more breakout rooms and separating people more, which is kind of sad, but you have to follow the social distancing guidelines. And so, you just really need to get with a team that knows what to do. And, an AV company is super, super important. You need to talk to a tech team that understands the background, the behind the scenes of this, the technology side of this, because it can be expensive, it can be challenging, and it can be a disaster if you don't have the right team.
As you mentioned, this is a totally different animal. We even said with Simon that same, but different.
Same, but different, yep.
All right. So if I am, for example, an event planner, how do I pivot from live to virtual events? Because it is not as easy as it may seem.
No, it's not. It's challenging. You just need to, how I really took, like I said, we've done aspects of virtual, but I never really did, a complete virtual event from the registration piece all the way to the end, and then guiding our clients through that. So there was a little bit of a different of an animal. So I just watched a lot. I'm sure everyone has been on a lot of virtual events at this point. And so in the very beginning, I was jumping on a lot of virtual events, and I spoke to my AV team. Partner with a great AV team, a tech team that can help you and advise you along the way. So when we first did the first live, I was with them. I was able to be with the team in their studio. And so watching that, so once you do one, you sort of have it figured out. It's really just a matter of what type of platform that they're going to be using for the goals that they need to meet for the event. So really, it's kind of the same. There may be some different tools added in that, people want to add in some, engaging, which is super important in virtual. You need to make sure that you have really great engaging things going on for everyone. So, to keep it entertaining, which is a lot different than if you're doing live. It's fun to have fun stuff, but the engaging piece of a virtual is important, especially if you're doing like a long day event or multiple day event, and people are, but so my biggest advice is, as an event producer, if you're not sure what to do, watch other events, take a lot of notes, what you liked, what you didn't like, and also partner up with a tech team that can, really guide you. So I get them on the phone with me. Whenever I get a potential client who wants to talk to me, I get my tech team on the phone with me so that they can answer all of the tech questions. And then I learned from them. So I learned a lot of answers that now I can probably take a call and not, and really talk about the tech side of it. So just partnerships are really super important.
There is a very nice saying, African saying, that if you want to travel fast, travel on your own. If you want to get further, travel in a group.
So true.
I'm just going to take a minute to remind our viewers, because I'm very lucky to have amazing speakers with mesmerizing performances. And I want to just remind you guys that you can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. If you want to get some information, if you want answers, just type them in and we'll try to answer them. All right. When should I start planning my virtual event?
Well, last year I do a lot of fundraisers, and the boards just weren't jumping on, and corporate's really sort of not kind of jumping on it right now either. They're kind of, they're still going really slow with it. But so we only had like a month or two to plan these virtual events, which is really kind of insane because there's so much that has to be done. I mean, the sooner you can do them, the best. I mean, that's the greatest thing you can do. I have one that's kind of been talking to us for the last couple months, and they're looking for April. So, I mean, really no less than 2 months, I would say, but if anything sooner than that, because there's still a lot of, you have to market it. There's getting all the tech together. You have to get your speakers and your sponsors, and, depending on what type of an event it is, and just pulling all that information together, the videos, if you're doing pre-recorded or if you're going to do live, because there's still a lot of tech stuff that has to get done behind the scenes, and the marketing is important. You got to promote it just like you would a live event. It's really not that much different as far as the marketing goes. So, as soon as you can start, the better for us anyway. But, we've planned them quicker than we want to. But
would you consider planning virtual events less or more difficult?
Well, they're not as fun. I can tell you, as a live event producer, and I'm going to be totally honest here, they're not as fun. it's kind of boring for us live producers who don't have a live platform. I like the hybrid piece of it. Hybrid is, in case somebody doesn't know, is a live aspect to the virtual. So you have a small amount of people in a live room, that's live. Could be the speakers and, you know, maybe the MC, the host, or whoever. And you just have a few people. And now we can only have a few people live, so that's kind of a challenge. But I just think it's, I'm sorry, was it that what was harder? I lost track of what you asked.
Yeah, which one is it harder or easier to organize? To plan maybe this way.
Yeah, I just think there's more details when you have to go live, because you have the food and beverage and you have the venue and you have, you know, there's a lot more things you have to bring to the event. You've got to deal with all the attendees. So in that sense, it's easier. But the tech side of it is a little challenging. You know, look, it doesn't take as long, but it's just not as fun.
I'd say it may be also a bit less challenging because, for example, imagine creating such conference and gathering you all under one roof at the same time.
Yeah,
it is. So there are some advantages of virtual events, definitely. For sure.
Right. So the advantages is that you can get a lot more people viewing the event that wouldn't come, you know, like worldwide, right? So you get a lot more of that. As far as the pricing goes, obviously, you know, even Paul touched on that. The tech side of it can be, you know, can be expensive, but it can be much, you know, it is a different animal.
I talked with one of my clients, I think 2 days ago, and I asked the question, is it like cheaper right now to organize they were like, not really. It is quite pricey. It is quite pricey to organize a good virtual event.
Like this, you have to have the team behind the scenes that runs the technology. The labor is what's expensive, and the platform. So if you're picking a really great platform like this one, this is a great platform, and this is, you know, guys, these guys have done an amazing job. And just the before, you know, as a producer and before the scene, beforehand, and all of the organization of it has been really great. But you know, it's you just have to. I got my train of thought again. Sorry, too many hours of working as a virtual assistant, as a virtual producer. So
we were talking about the advantages of creating virtual events, such as, for example, gathering people under one roof.
Right, the pricing. It can be. I did a virtual. There were 13 people on the team. So, you know, 13 people, that's a lot. The labor is expensive. And then the platform that you use, it depends. So if you're just going to do a Zoom, you could do it for free, but that's not going to look so great. Or you can get platforms that can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So it just depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish.
Here. All right. I have a question from Andrew. Comparing to live events with reference to speakers' rehearsals for virtual, when would you start, how often, and how much time?
Yeah.
For example, allow more rehearsals for virtual?
Yeah. So we like to, you know, obviously we need to rehearse. We have to check with the speaker to make sure that their setup's right, their lighting's right, their sound is right, their background's right. Things are, you know, they look presentable. We don't want speakers that are looking crazy. So, you know, we usually get a meeting in a month before, and then we kind of do a tech check, you know, like a week before, and then we do a rehearsal a few days before, a day or two before.
What about the marketing, for example, also? But is marketing the same for virtual and live event?
It pretty much is. You know, it is pretty much the same. We haven't done much different, even with marketing. What we're doing as producers and in my business, it's the same. You just, you know, you can reach, when you're doing your Facebook ads, obviously, if you're doing ads of any kind, you can reach a bigger demographic. So it's pretty much the same.
The next question I have is can also be asked to the organizer of this event, but I'm going to ask it also to you. How is online registration implemented and managed? Because this is quite crucial for any event.
Right. So what we've done to make it more interactive and to make it more engaging is we have a live registration piece. So they register online, right? They register on their online, And then we do a check-in, which is really a live check-in. So we do a Zoom, and they have we give them a certain amount of time. So like Monday from 2 to 5, you can come into the live registration and check-in. We usually say check-in because if we say registration, they think that they've already registered. So we say check-in. We want to give you, talk to you about the platform, especially if it's a platform that you're not familiar with. Okay. So we want to make sure that we get them on. We talk about the platform, what they can expect, what time is the event. Did you get your gift box? Send them something in the mail. And then so they have a human contact with a registration person. So we try to keep that really engaging and have that beginning before the event even starts. The engagement is already there. So it's worked well. It's harder to do when you have like thousands of people on an event. You have to have a big enough team to manage that, and you have to have enough time to do that. But not a lot of our clients have used it because they usually haven't had enough time to implement all of it. So, but it's a really great piece, and it starts with the engagement.
Speaking of engagement, any tips on things how to incorporate to help the engagement?
Yeah, so we've done some really fun things, and
I'm all ears because I'm very, very curious about those things you implemented.
Yeah. So gamification is always fun. Games where they have to have their camera on. So that's one thing is, you get people in, engaging that maybe be on a camera, and you've got a group with Zoom and stuff, and their cameras are not on. And you want, you don't want to be the only one that's live. So you want to get them engaged. You can do some games where they have to have their camera on. Scavenger hunts are always fun. Quizzes. So there's this company called My Quiz, and they do these quizzes, which are really fun. Show and tell. So you have to kind of have them run around, find something, and do this like whole, show and tell sort of thing. Cash bonuses for having their video on. So if you can do that, that's always great. We did a sangria experience with some drag queens, which was super fun. They are hysterical.
You got my attention. Sangria experience with drag queens, yes?
Right. So so it was just a big energy. Yeah, I know. It was the funnest thing ever. They're the funniest guys ever. Girls, guys, whatever it is. And so, we have fun with it. And drinking is a big thing on these parties too. So dance parties, when I first started doing virtual, I thought, oh gosh, nobody's going to get involved in these dance parties. But when you showcase people dancing and you bring them, like you zoom into them, they love to be on camera. People just, for some reason, whether they want to be shy or not, they love to be on camera. So we've had some dance parties, virtual photo booths, Q&As, any entertainment. So if you have an entertainment, like a musical group that's fun and interactive, that's always fun too. Icebreakers, some questions and answers sort of thing, like trivia. And then there's team building and giveaways and stuff like that. So those are, some exciting things that we've done. But you gotta be really creative when it comes to virtual. And there's a lot of companies doing stuff now. So when we first started virtual, there wasn't a lot of people that knew what to do and how to bring what they do virtually. But it's changed a lot.
I mean, when I asked this question, I had expected basically like 3 or 4 examples.
There's a lot of things that we've done. So. And
it is absolutely amazing, and I love listening to it, and I love hearing it, because it's like a magic box. You just open your creativity, and there it goes. All right, Annette, I have one question from Krzysztof. Annette, can you please share your biggest setback with organizing online event and the solution you've implemented?
So, the biggest setback, it doesn't happen that often, but you really need to make sure that you have good connections when you're running a virtual event. My AV team is fantastic. Sometimes, it depends on the connections that we have. You got to make sure that you have, a great, and they know the terminology of all this, but if you don't have enough Wi-Fi that's working properly, or to run the virtual of it, you need to make sure that hookup is right. We had something that happened. We were doing lots. It was 2 tracks, lots of speakers, and it was a one-day event. And there was so when the speaker was speaking, the voice was coming on after. So it was kind of a delay in the, like, what they were saying and when it was coming through. That was a Zoom glitch. So you just have to, make sure that the platforms you're using, you know them. But other than that, we just have to make sure that you have people that know what they're doing and have a good tech team, because if it doesn't run good, it's not going to look good, and that's going to make the event not, it's not going to flow right. You've got to have a good flow.
That is so true. All right, we have, I can see that Pamela Benitez is a huge fan of Drag Taste Portugal. She said Drag Taste Portugal, best ever. So if you ever once again create such an event, virtual event, please do invite us. Remember about us, because we're going to have a blast, I guess. Me and Pamela Benitez.
They're fun for sure.
Another one from our viewers, Ndoye. Are there basic notions of virtual events tech that one should know, at least the basics, to supervise the tech team and make sure that they work well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to have a team that I can trust. You really need to know that you can trust them and they know what they're doing. I have worked with these guys for a long, long time, so make sure that they're highly recommended and they know what they're doing, and you don't have to worry. I never have to worry if there's a glitch. They're going to fix it right away. So, just making sure that you are picking the right team, and it can be challenging. And so, just like with any event, I have been doing this for years. Like I said in the beginning, there's always something that's going to happen that you thought, okay, that's never happened before. And so, you just have to, figure out what's plan B and C, and glitches are going to happen, and things are, we understand sometimes, it's never happened to me, but I've been on events where we've lost the feed altogether, and you just have to, figure out what to do next. So always have some backup plans. That's super, super important.
And always work with the best. This is I think, also very important. As I said, if you don't know how to do something, work with those who do.
I know. And it might be more money to work with the best, but at the end of the day, because you can make money, I've been doing events where you can make money from a virtual event. Just because it's virtual doesn't mean you're not going to make some money. And so, spending the time and keeping people engaged and interested, if you're selling something from an event, if you're making an offer, make sure that you have a really good team that can help you look good as well and keep everybody engaged, and they're going to want to buy from you. So you can make money. So it's you might have to spend a little more money, but you're going to make it on the back end. And they're going to save you money as well. So we don't want our clients spending thousands and thousands of dollars on an event if they don't need to. So we advise on, look, this is just because they have, let's say they have a $100,000 budget. Doesn't mean we're going to spend $100,000. We want to make sure they're getting the best value for, and try to stay under their budget.
I think this is the idea, old as the world, basically. You have to spend money to earn money.
Oh yeah, I'm doing a workshop right now. It's crazy.
Next question from Carolina. Online events are our future or just a temporary solution? What is your opinion?
I kind of think it's going to be much more popular than it used to be. I really do. I like even though and we tried to get people to do virtual, we tried to say, live stream, you can get a lot more people in, you can make some money from it. And most of them, it was the last thing that they would always say at the very beginning of planning, we want to do a live stream. Okay, great. And it was always the last thing that they took off because they spent a lot of money on their event. So I think that people are they're engaging in it now, they're seeing it. And I think that, it's going to be a while till we're back to normal, at least another year. I'm moving events again this year. We moved them from last year to this year, and now I'm moving again to 2022. So, I think that it's definitely going to be around. Paul was talking about that earlier, and I do believe that it's going to be around a lot longer. I think eventually it may fade out, but you never know where it's going to go. Who knows? We never thought we were going to be here a year ago.
So since it's going to stick, it's going to be around. How long should a good virtual event be?
Well, it really depends. So, you know, it depends on what their goal is and what they're trying to do. So, you know, my fundraisers, which are normally a 4-hour gala, when it's live, are an hour, at the most an hour and a half, because you can't keep them engaged that long. And, you know, we want to get to the point, show about the foundation, you know, get something fun and entertaining in the middle, do the auction, the silent auctions, run the live, the paddle raise, and then a little more entertainment, and then we're done. So, but I have events that are 3 days long. So, but they aren't as long as it would be like 8 in the morning till 6 at night. We've kind of made them shorter, longer breaks sometimes in the middle. And then, you know, it's just, you can't keep people's engagement that long, but there are people that are doing them long. So there's really not one answer to that. I like to try to make sure that you have a lot of fun things involved to keep them going. That's the biggest thing I can say, is the engagement is super important.
Great solution and great advice. We talked about the team, the co-workers. How big should a good team be?
Yeah, so, you know, when some of our clients come to us and it's just them, that's hard to do. They need to have people in the back end to help them with their marketing, their messaging, all their emails. You know, they have to do an email chain of emails to get, you know, people there. The graphic designs, because graphic design is important when you're doing a virtual event, because people are going to see. So there's a lot of graphic design that is involved in this. And then the tech team is going to be probably a lot bigger. It just depends on what they're doing, you know, and how long is the event and all of that. And that's really, but I think important having an event producer who knows what they're doing, who can pull everybody together. And then obviously the tech team. And then depending on, you know, it just depends on the event. If it's a really big, you know, you need a team, you need people to help. You need someone running the chat when you're live. You need, you know, an MC like yourself, who's fantastic, by the way. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you very much.
You're doing a great job. And it's important to have someone who is, you know, you can't just like flop up and do something. You really need someone who's helping. And having a host or an MC is always great. It's always great. If you can do that, it keeps the engagement going.
Everything you say is duly noted. I can see that there is, Annette is a superstar. You have the best team around you for sure.
Yeah.
That's a basic statement from our chat.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much. No, I do have the best team. I'm very, very lucky. And I'm always, you know, I'm not like, you know, I'm always looking for great people to work with. And so that's why I love doing my live shows, you mentioned before, is because there's so many great people out there who are helping everyone in this industry. So it's really great.
Once again, thank you very much for spending your time, for being here with us. As I said before, I had been looking forward to meeting you and talking to you, and this dream is fulfilled right now. Once again, thank you very much. Stay with us, because we have so many things more to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. The weather outside is frightful. It is cold, it's windy, but the atmosphere here is very warm and welcoming. And I do hope and I do believe that you are having a very good time spending this evening with us. Right now, we are going to meet up with our next speaker, Aleksandra Pietrak. Ola, a graduate of finance and accounting at the Warsaw School of Economics. Since her studies, she has been passionate about the world of events, thanks to the coordination of numerous projects, including world of national-wide ones in the Independent Students Associations of the Warsaw School of Economics. For almost 5 years, she has been associated with KDK Events Agency, the guys who are responsible for this conference. I personally met Ola, I think, like 3 years ago, and I remember after the event I wrote her a message. I texted her saying, Ola, thank you very much because you are extremely professional, and I thought safe and everything was absolutely great. 3 years went by. How is she today? Well, you can judge yourself because she's responsible also for this event. Right now, let's make a short break and we'll hear Ola soon. All right. As I said, Ola is responsible for taking care of this amazing conference. So we decided to pre-record her presentation. So right now you'll be able to hear her. Later we'll try to connect with her just to check on her and to see how everything goes. Right now, presentation by Aleksandra Pietrak.
Hi everyone. I hope that you are enjoying our Spark of Change conference. I have to tell you something. This speech was pre-recorded because right now, when you are watching me here, I'm on the backstage of the first stage technology as a director. So you can let me know if you are watching us here or there, and I will try to make a quick look on the conference chat. And of course, if you would like in the future consult with me things like directing or how to organize your own online event, please contact me after the end of the conference. But now, let's go to the point. So, when I'm thinking about being director of a virtual event, I always think, how should it look at the very end, when people are watching us? And what steps should I take to make it happen? And because before I started dealing with virtual world, I was a project manager of many kinds of online, let's say, traditional events, I'm always wondering how can I put a bit of splendor, this special feeling from traditional event to online. And the second thought is what steps should I take, what things should I do with me when it comes to my own works and with my team. And I suppose that today among our audience there is many people who have the same problem, the same thoughts like I have, like I had at the very beginning. Especially if you just started on organizing online galas conferences. But don't worry, at the beginning, like I said, I also had no idea how to start. And during this presentation, I would like to share with you my experiences from the point of view of managing online events. And at the end, I would like to tell you why it is very important for me to constantly sharing my doubts, my feelings with my team and looking for solutions together. And the first step. So, analyze what tasks are ahead of you. So, take time to learn about your client's needs, the purpose of the event. Think about that, what will work and what is unnecessary. Make a good brainstorm. And even if you are very busy, try to find time to consult as many things as possible with people who can bring value to your event. And that is connected with the second recommendation, which is, of course, create a team. Here, I would like to introduce Spark of Change team, because thanks to these people, we can meet today during this conference and share our experience, our feelings about online world, virtual world. You know, online is the same, but on the other hand, it is much more difficult, especially right now, because you often have to manage events with people that you can't meet in person. And then, when you have a team, you should discuss your ideas with them and ask for their ideas. But when I talk about the team, I mean also subcontractors, such as camera operators, sound multimedia producers, for example, player and platform providers, scene language interpreters, and many, many others. Because a good project manager thinks at the very beginning what she or he will need. And now we can go to scenario of the event. Well, some people in my agency may say that I'm boring when it comes to the scenarios. Why? Because I always say that scenario is for me a basis for any another move. And even if I don't start from writing it, from the very beginning I have it in my mind, I'm analyzing and changing it. And as soon as possible, I transfer my thoughts to, let's say, electronic paper. Because for me, carefully prepared scenario is like a plan that we have to stick to it. It shows every step, every move of cameras, all needs when it comes to sound, microphones, every single important thing that event host should say during the event. And please remember that scenario is not the agenda. It is much more complex, much more detailed. What is also important, scenario should be clear not only for you, but also for your client, for event host, for your technical crew. And another step is, of course, prepare your event host. Because in my opinion, well-prepared event host is like a business card of the event. That's why I attach a great importance to cooperation with hosts of all of my events. I never leave to the last moment things such as sending them scenario, relevant texts that our clients want to be told during the event, dress requirements. I also often consult with them the entire scenario of the event. And of course, they always take part in general rehearsals, during which I always try to listen to their tips. Very good advices arising from their stage experience. Another step is prepare your technical crew. A briefing with technical crew, along with discussion of entire scenario, is also a very important part of the preparations. And before I start rehearsals with my clients, with event hosts, I always try to find the time to discuss the entire course of the event with them. All critical elements, all milestones of the event. I also try to be open to their ideas, suggestions, and even critical remarks regarding my ideas. That's because I think that thanks to this, we learn from each other, which is very important in this work. Speakers. So, we should also prepare our speakers. Because speakers are a key element of the event. We must remember that even the most interesting speech, disturbing by technical problems, will not be successful. So it is very important to give speakers the right amount of time and attention. Conduct with them remote connections tests from their homes or offices or on-stage rehearsals. Present them all technical aspects and solutions used during their speeches. Share with them practical tips how to prepare for their speeches, such as outfit, presentation design, and much more. For example, some time ago, our team has prepared a special guide for speakers, which is very useful and quite universal for all online events. And yes, another thing is technical rehearsal. Before I start rehearsals with my clients, I always also try to find the time only for my technical crew. it is time for me and for them to prepare and verify everything. For example, multimedia materials, light and sound, and discuss the course of the event, and find every single thing that we have to still implement. During these rehearsals, we also test all interactions with audience that we would like to show and implement during our event. For example, some contests. And you know, thanks to such preparations, when my client comes to the general rehearsal, I'm ready to show him or her the entire event. So let's imagine that we are almost ready, yes? Everybody knows their tasks, everything is planned. It seems that we can actually organize our event right now. But then general rehearsal comes. And each of the elements that I mentioned before is very important. But this last rehearsal simply shows what I forgot about. And believe me, it happens to everyone. So, firstly, the general rehearsal should be scheduled in advance, at least few hours before the event, but if it is possible, the day before event. Because thanks to this, we still have time to react for any unexpected things. Secondly, all key people, such as our client, of course, event host, technical crew, should be present during this rehearsal. And for our clients, it is the last moment to change anything in the scenario. Because another very important thing, after the general rehearsal, especially in case of virtual events, we shouldn't make any significant changes in the entire course of the scenario of the event. We shouldn't change anything that may result in technical problems. And what is also important is communication during the rehearsal. Because every suggestion, every single change should be consulted with the director. Director is responsible for the scenario for the course of the event. He or she, I can honestly say, knows scenario by heart. When we are live, director is the person who decides what our audience will see at the end. And that brings us to the end. So, what should we do during the event? So, let's imagine that there comes the moment that everybody was been waiting for. I announced to my team 5 minutes to start. Last makeup corrections, we have already streamed the board with a countdown timer. Audience gathering in front of their computers. And 3, 2, 1, we are going live. I'm always counting down these words to the event host. And it may seem that anything can happen now. And we have no influence what will happen. But believe me, it's not true. Even the best prepared scenario and hundreds of rehearsals can't predict certain situations. And that's why I think that directors should be 200% focused. But on the other hand, directors should react very quickly in any situation. Let's imagine, what if one of our speakers has a connection problem with the internet? Or maybe somebody misses the recording studio at the very last minute. Or how to fill the gap when this point of the agenda ends too early, or how to speed up if you are too late. These are just a few examples for which we should always keep plan B in our minds. So my first advice, stay calm, stay ahead of the agenda. Very important thing. I believe that every single decision that I make shouldn't disturb work of the technical crew, event hosts' work. But at the same time, we never should show the audience that something is wrong. It is also very useful to have a second director, a right-hand man, who will react when you need to focus on something completely different. But the most important thing, have fun with that. For me, directing from the very beginning was a great fun, great experience, great lesson, and I really like doing it. In fact, the first event that I managed, that I prepared, and when I was a director, it was Spark of Change 1, the first edition of our event. And that's why it is amazing. I'm very happy that today I can be with you during the second edition of this event. So I wish all current and future directors many successes in your work. And like I said at the very beginning, if you would like to talk about organization of your own virtual events, directing, please contact me. You can write me an email. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and I wish you great time during our conference. Bye bye.
Oh my dear, how to achieve a wow effect in the world of online events. Basically,
like this.
Streamline. There it is. There's the wow effect. Hi, good evening, Ola. Oleńko.
Hi.
I'm going to greet Ola in Polish. Dobry wieczór, Oleńko. Good to see you. So how's the conference? Let me just ask you.
I think it's quite good. I hope so. And I'm afraid that we have less than 2 minutes before the next part of the agenda on the first stage. And
not on my watch, not on my watch, my love, not on my watch.
Let's make a quick look on my guys here. Guys, say hello. Okay, they are quite shy, I think.
This is true power behind the scenes, basically. These are the people responsible for us looking good and for us feeling good.
Yes.
Oleńko, we had a chance to meet for the first time 3 years ago. How do you think the event industry changed?
Well, from my point of view, we know much more. Our knowledge is much more bigger than 3 years ago. And when I think about it, I'm very happy that I started my adventure with the events a few years ago, because I think that we can do much more in the future. So I hope we will be able to do it together.
This is only the second edition. Let's hope and pray there are more to come. Guys, feel free to write words for Ola. If I don't read it right now, because we may not have enough time, I will definitely make sure she'll receive those words from you later. Oleńko, how many people signed in to be participants of this conference?
1,000, about 1,000 people, from all around the world. Quite a lot.
This is impressive. This is quite a big crowd. Hello, all of you. I'm absolutely aware that you're not all watching my little tiny conference stage number 3, but I do hope that you're watching either stage number 1, 2, or 3. Oleńko, I'm not going to keep you. Aleksandra Pietrak, I'm not going to keep you because I'm absolutely aware. You have to go. I'm absolutely aware of the fact that you have so many things on your shoulders. Keep up the good work. Thank you very, very much once.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Let's all wave to Ola. Dear guests, dear speakers, dear viewers, as I said before, this is the second edition of Spark of Change conference. We divided the conference into 3 separate areas. And let me just take a peek, not to confuse anything, yes, stage number 1, hosted by Anna, is devoted to technology. Stage number 2, which is responsible for engagement, is hosted by Matthew, or Maciek in Polish. And stage number 3, very intimate, very confessional-like, is hosted by yours truly, Damian Urbańczyk. We have still 1 hour to go. Still a few amazing speakers waiting for their chance to share their knowledge. Remember one thing: you can freely move, you can freely swap rooms, you can migrate from one stage to another in order to experience or to find out something that you may find useful for you and for your company. We are trying to provide you with the best solutions, the best ideas, and the best hints that may become useful in your later professional life. And as I also said before, I don't expect you to stay with me all the time, even though, of course, I would love you to spend the time with me, because I really do enjoy your presence. Even though I cannot see you, I can feel your presence, I can read your questions, I can read your comments, and they give me loads of absolutely perfect energy. But even though I cannot expect you to be with me all the time, but I hope and I do believe that you will stay with us till the end. Not maybe with me, but with us in general. All right. I hope that you are ready. I hope that you are enjoying yourselves, because this is the most important thing. And I do hope that you're taking notes, because it is also very, very important. Oh, by the way, I have one question. I know that you won't be able, or you will be able to answer. If you were to choose, what is more important in your way to achieve success? Is it talent or diligence? Which one would you choose? Talent, pracowitość, talent, hard work, talent, or diligence? Which one would you choose if you want to achieve success? What is more important? I know that you have your favorites. One of my favorite writers, George Bernard Shaw, when he was asked the same question, answered with a question: what is more important for a bike, a front or a back wheel? We all know that these two features are extremely important, are crucial for us in order to achieve success. And also what is important is the teamwork, because as we talked about it with Annette, if you want to travel fast, you can travel on your own. But if you want to reach further, you have to travel in a group. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers from all around the world, because I hope that you are with us not only from Poland. I'm sure you're not only here from Poland, but from many countries, not only in Europe, but from other continents also. It is time for our next speaker. I'm going to very briefly introduce Aliaksej. Aliaksej Burnosenka is an expert event manager, trainer, and facilitator. Born in Belarus, so our neighbor, he started his career as event manager in 1999. By the way, Aliaksej, this is also the year of the Chemical Brothers' Hey Boy, Hey Girl that was played here during our conference, 1999. So his first job, later he has been developing many relevant skills: public speaking, coaching, theater director, and even choreography. He founded the most known medieval and fire theater troupe in Belarus in 2005. His clients and partners are IT companies, parliament speakers, and presidential candidates, as well as the US Embassy, Belarus, and others. Since 2018, Aliaksej has lived and acted in Europe, precisely in Poland. So we are right now in the same time zone. All right, we'll meet Aliaksej after the short break. More than ever before, today's show-stopping events are relevant and engaging digital experiences, planned and executed to perfection. It is quite easy to say, but a bit more challenging to execute, isn't it, Aleksej?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to see you here. Hello, Damien. And yeah, today the topic of my presentation, maybe, yeah, it wouldn't be a presentation, I hope it's just a talk, is fails.
But
right.
You know what? A talk or a conversation is always the best way to present ideas. So we're all ears, especially since we're going to be also a bit gossiping, because we're going to be talking about mistakes and failures. I'm all ears listening to you.
Yep, thank you very much. So yeah, as after this great presentation by Damien, I just actually don't know what to add, but just one maybe thing that should worth saying about recognition of this background with the current conference where we're taking part. During this my background or this time I have been doing my work, I organized dozens and even more of events from few minutes to few months long. And yes, I always saw the same mistakes, and especially during latest 1.5 years when all of us went to, okay, not all of us, but majority of us went to online. I saw the same mistakes, and yes, that's what I'm going to share with you right now. So let's focus. Fails, mistakes, drama, crisis, what can go wrong? And this is kind of my small chart I prepared on my window, especially for today's session. So it's kind of very brief overview, dear ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we can go in details, but I will do my best to create the system of understanding how I see those mistakes and what I'm putting my attention at during preparation of online events. So, fails. I see 3 typical types of fails that you can find in your event and you can actually prevent at your event. First, visual fails. Second, communication fails. And third, technical fails. Visual, communicational, and technical. Let me please do not start with first one because it's so obvious and so interesting and so long, and I have kind of 6 hours training session about the ways how to provide online events, about visual approach. But let's focus on some basic ideas of communicational mistakes. 2 typical types of communicational mistakes you can deal with during your event. You can deal with as an expert, you can deal with as an organizer of event, as an event host. The voice. the voice of your speakers, of experts, of participants, your personal voice. So voice get tired, voice can be developed. So for example, Damien has perfect, amazing professional voice, professional English, level of English, and that's great. Good to him, but not everybody of us have this experience, and especially your experts. You see, this kind of very typical, symptomatical moment when we, like approximately a year ago, when this pandemic started and all the activity went online, and people, even great event participants, expert, great presenters, performers, showmakers, who had really huge experience of talking on stage, of communicating with the audience, of providing the lectures and so on, they started to do it. I call it actually the pyjama syndrome. So pyjama syndrome. So they started to do it in pajamas at home from their own place they live at. And you see, that's actually the issue. The more skilled are you, please think about your skill, your experience. The more years of experience do you have, the more probable, the more likely you can get into this trap of pyjama syndrome. Why? Why it happens with us, with experts? Because expert has very strong, very good, working really well program in subconscious mind. So experts, when they go to the stage, they switch on this like stage type of behavior, stage pattern of behavior. But the problem is when they go out of the stage, when they go home, they need to rest, they need to regenerate their power. So they just switch absolutely off all this stage behavior, stage way, stage pattern of behavior, and they go into home, like household pattern. So they relaxed and so on. And as a result, during your online event, when those people providing like lectures, talks, or presentations from home, for their subconscious mind and conscious mind, it's really difficult. Their mind confused a little bit, like blending everything, blending this pyjama mood, this pyjama mode, I would say, mood and mode, yes, at the same time, with the professional mode. That is why they can make some mistakes, and actually I will show you some examples of mistakes really soon. So pyjama syndrome, by the way, we'll talk about pyjama maybe one more time in a very interesting way in 5 to 7 minutes approximately. So let's come back. One of the symptoms of this pyjama syndrome is not so well developed, not so well warmed up voice. So remember, your voice should be beautiful, should be professional during the stage. So if you know how to work with your voice, okay. If you don't know how to work with your voice, you have a great possibility to learn this beautiful science, to go to like vocal instructors, singing instructors, to go to choir and train your voice. And that's really great idea. Go to acting school and again, train your voice. And that's really great idea. But if you have already trained everything, if you know how to work with your voice, always remember to warm up, to practice some tongue twisters, and if you're just an organizer, if you're kind of host of event, make your speakers, check them. How good are they in warming up their voice in advance before starting their speech? In warming up this like articulation system, all those tongue and cheeks and throat and everything. So your voice. Next one, actually, the tongue twisters. So this great possibility to, like, okay, possibly again, the more professional you are, the better you know that there are people who speak approximately this way, so they just don't open their mouth, and anyway, when they do it on the street, everybody can understand them. And there are some other people who can open their mouth, who speak with like warmed up system, with warm up tongue and everything. So second idea, propose your speakers, your experts, and propose to yourself some tongue twisters in the language they're going to use, in the language they're going to speak in. For example, Polish tongue twisters for me is something incredibly difficult. So I don't even try. Okay, I tried once some of them, and it was like really complicated for me. So so far I can only like train some English ones, and of course in my native languages too. Good. That's basically it. We can go to some details later on if we have some time, but now let's go to latest position, the technical errors or technical failures. Well, again, I can spend hours telling you horrible stories about typical technical errors people encourage people to face it when microphones, presentations, of course, you know all this stuff. So basic idea, just to summarize all this experience, if I want to say it in a few seconds. The check loop. What does it mean? Check if everything okay, and if you think it is, check it again. And if you think it is okay, check it again on new level. If you think it is okay, it works perfectly, check it again, and so on and so forth. So repeat this check loop more and more times. Never allow yourself to be lazy. So it sounds so obvious. Anyway, more than approximately, like in my experience, just like evaluation from my personal experience, more than 60% of TEDx speakers, I have seen errors of or mistake failures of fails of more than 60% of artists who failed, mostly failed because of technical issues, because they just couldn't put enough attention on some easy, preventable technical details, nuances, and so on. Somebody was like too lazy, maybe too busy, too overloaded, or too tired. And yes, next idea is just very big, beautiful, and important question to yourself that you can ask anytime, again, during this loop or in additional to this loop. WCGW, very easy to remember. What can go wrong? What more can go wrong? So if you have perfect presentation, if you have like checked electricity and so on and so forth, what can happen if there is a volcano just below your event venue, or the water fluid, and you covered with water? What can go wrong? What can you do with that? Please prepare like reserved plan, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, and so on for any possible events. Good, thank you very much. And now let's finally jump to the biggest column on this chart, the column of visual, to say, possibilities to make beautiful picture or to fail the beautiful picture. First one, the amount of light. You see how dark is my face right now, and possibly now you can see my face in a little bit better way. That's how I use the light. And of course I do it at my home, so there are kind of some local small table lamps and so on. So I just prefer to put your attention more on this chart than on my face. But remember, if you have window or your expert has window behind their back, they are dark silhouettes, so just dark frames. If you have light right in front of the face, the face became really flat. If you use this energy-saving lamps, very cheap and very good for ecology, you have your faces or faces of your experts more dark, more gray, more like blue sometimes. So think more. The best light is always not so bright daylight of the sun. So think about light, and of course you can find a lot about light. You can Google, you can check any sources, and by the way, if you would like to, you can also have a look at my 1-hour training dedicated. Okay, so far I don't see the possibility to share this link with you. Maybe I can do it later, no problems. Well, let's go further. Next point, so it was the light issues. Next one, the costume. How will you look like? Which image of yourself will you create with your costume? Will it be kind of so old and so lovely sweater, so covered with holes and so on? So like, it's up to you. So think about the costume, even working with from your home, even working at your place where you live, where you cook, because yeah, again, be aware of pyjama syndrome. Yes, talking about the pyjama syndrome. This is kind of really good example of pyjama syndrome. Yes, I have my pyjama with me right now. This is kind of an example. I decided to show it to you to make you smile a bit. And yeah, so because I'm at home. Yes, because there is coronavirus lockdown. So yeah, we all on the same boat. Let's go. So think about costume, think carefully, and think fully. Yes, so I just recreated very typical mistake when only upper part of costume fits to the event and lower part is kind of pyjama part. So you see how it looked like, and you will see even more detail later. Next one, the moire. Moire is the way when you have very small pattern, like tiny pattern, like very small circles, very small, maybe squares or lines on your costume, and your camera also have those kind of square pattern of metrics of taking the image, and those two matrices became to overlap somehow, and you see those beautiful, bright, and actually awful spots on a costume of yourself or of your expert. So think about the moire and think about the size of. So of course, it's always better to have plain, not so bright costume for your speech. Next one, the body language, the size of your body, how big scale of your picture you can use. Typical mistake when people providing the online calls, they just doing it approximately the way I'm showing right now. So they're watching at the screen, the camera watching from above at the forehead. So nobody can, and of course they're just talking head. So nobody, nothing like that. So blah, 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 blah. And that's, as psychologist from South Park, the movie said, that's bad, okay? So make yourself enough space to be visible, at least from the belly button level approximately, and allow yourself to gesticulate on all the length of your arms, so to use all the scale. And of course, leave approximately 2 to 3 centimeters above your head when you stay on average distance between you and camera. That's it about the view of your body. Good. Next one, jewelry. Jewelry attracts the attention. So what kind of jewelry, how much jewelry will you use? I usually recommend speakers on TED, on online events, like managers of IT companies, to remove all possible jewelry. Of course, there is kind of sexist society sometimes, and some specific genders prefer and have kind of social right to put on more jewelry. So maybe you agree with this idea. So, okay, and if your audience agree with this idea too, so go on. But do not allow your jewelry be the main actor on the stage. Please be the main actor yourself. So jewelry should just highlight you, but do not be brighter than you yourself. That's it. Next one, the background. Background you use for your speech, for your online event, or background your expert use. So ask your experts while preparing, while having those preliminary talks, meetings with them, to show which background will be behind their back. So I prefer not to show, for example, these parts of my flat. Yes, I used 2 types of background, even not that one. Yeah, this plain gray wall, and of course the structure, this pattern I prepared for you. So you can do something like that or even better. And again, when you see Damien again, please look at how beautiful background behind his back. Yeah, that's professional approach. And you can create this professional approach. You can realize this professional approach at your place, at your home. Well, what else? Finally, do not be stupid and do not be dully. So dulliness check. Which mistakes could you make? And talking about those mistakes, let me please share with you just few samples, just very simple samples of mistakes that was made by, let's say, respected speakers, people. So you possibly already can see my screen, a set of short videos. The potato balls, you can Google what is potato balls. So this is kind of small piece of official meeting, online meeting, when the guy just couldn't switch off this potato mode of the tool he used. And of course, very famous video when there was very respected, well-looking expert online, like on the air, and his kids just came to him. So do not forget to lock the door of your room, of your official room. You see, the background behind this guy is really beautiful. Some books on a bed, some beautiful maps, some bookshelves. So perfect, absolutely perfect. Even better, so it's visible that it goes from home, but anyway, so intelligent, full of information, and so on and so forth. But you see, this lady, those two kids, it's obvious, but it's not so good for the reputation sometime. Let's go next. Pretty funny. I like this video. Yes, again, one more respected guy with very beautiful background, and something will appear. Let me please jump a little bit forward and a little bit forward. Something will change in a second that will make the atmosphere much easier. Yeah, that's it. So think about it and about the image of yourself and maybe of your speakers, of your expert during your online event. So that's it. Let's go to next one. Yes, guy who is, I suppose, new speaker, and you see this part. Yeah, it's kind of comment for this guy. So he just doing this official again on the air, officially on the TV, and he just doing it without his pants. And when this title on the bottom disappeared at the end, everybody can see his legs. Let's watch it again. Let's find this moment. Yes, that's it. And let's go to the next one. The most interesting, the most shocking. Yes, again, this guy is sport speaker, commentator of sport matches, and there is a nude, naked lady behind his back. So it's kind of very dull, very stupid, I would say, error that could be easily prevented. Just turn 90 degrees to left or right, and that would be okay. By the way, this lady is not a wife, but his lover, as I remember. And finally, just small set of other mistakes, errors. We will not watch it till the end. I will show you possibly few seconds. Okay. By the way, one more interesting thing. So I'm almost done about the case we're discussing. So very interesting thing is your reaction. I mean, how do you look like after realizing that this is something bad is going on? So yeah, possibly that's enough with sharing. Good, and let's recap a bit. My time is almost over. So three main basic types of fails: visual picture fails, communicational fails, and technical fails. Technical fails: check it, loop, check it again, and even more deeper and even more deeper. What can go wrong? Ask yourself again and again and prevent this possible going wrong situation. About the communication, okay. Interaction, but I'm not possibly the one who can teach you how to interact with the audience. Very important. Your voice, tongue twisters, and interact with the audience. Remember about the attention span. And finally, visual fails. Picture, so the light, the costume of hero of the character. Moire, so the overlapping of different small patterns one to another. The size of your body, the scale, the frame, the body language, how visible your body is. Finally, jewelry. Do not allow your jewelry to be brighter than yourself. The background behind your back, how it looks like. What will you show to your audience by your background? And finally, any stupid mistakes that you can find in some kind of videos in YouTube, like best online conferences fails, or online coronavirus events fails, and so on and so forth. Well, dear friends, technically that's it from my side. Sorry, I took 1 minute more than I supposed to. So, Damien, if you can hear me, or yep.
Oh, are we on yet? Oh my God!
Wake up.
this is something that we would consider a fail. Aleksej, could you please come back to your chart for a second? Please do. Just for a second to your chart.
Yes, for sure. Please.
Tell me, is this my face on the visual fail? Down? This is my face, isn't it?
Well, maybe not
fails.
now, but I'm not
It can be.
sure.
I have to tell you one thing. I remember when I studied English, one of my teachers spent hours with us practicing pronunciation. I remember repeating like, Sleepy Frida, 6 slippers size 6 to fit her feet. Or for example, Cuthbert puts mustard in his mother's custard. So that's a very good exercise to practice pronunciation, not only in English. Aleksej, as we all know, I mean, things happen, but what is the most important thing to do after something happens? What is the best way to avoid damage control? Or maybe let's concentrate on damage control.
Well, are we talking about online events or
yes,
offline events?
Yeah, for example, because there are some things, for example, like connection fails or things like that we cannot do anything about it. These things happen. But if we see someone, if we have online presentation and we have our fiancé, for example, let's hope and pray this is our fiancé passing behind us in the negligee, for example, how should we react? I think, first of all, we shouldn't allow this to happen, but how can we react after that?
Well, some situations can be overcome by just ignoring it. So in some specific cases, people won't notice that something is happening if you will not notice that. So just keeping your this poker face as this guy with naked woman behind is one of ways to behave. Anyway, like if it goes online, if it goes to YouTube, somebody will find it, somebody will make it viral. So it's not always the case. So first one possible option, to ignore. Second possible option is to explain and make this something that happened, transform it into a tool, into a way to reach your goal. Like transform it into an example. Imagine, like, for example, kind of genius, let's say, professor in the university, and he's providing his lecture, and at one specific moment, just the glass like breaks and cold bean starts like weaving inside the whole room, and he just switching to explain. You see, this is just result of those physical processes we are just learning right now. So very practical, physical examples everybody can feel on their skin. But of course, it's a beautiful example, artificial example I created right now from your head, but skilled, experienced speaker, trainer, entrepreneur can transform majority of possible cases into specific examples of what is this speaker talking about. Well,
to be quite frank, I absolutely love the first idea that if you don't address something, maybe it will disappear. Do you know that sometimes kids, for example, cover their eyes and they think that if they don't see anyone, they're also invisible?
But on the, you're right, yes, it sounds a little bit funny, but on the other hand, sometimes your audience just doesn't know what should happen behind your back. So for example, if you're doing it just on the street, it's not you who are responsible for people passing behind your back. Even providing like kind of public event from public place, like anything can happen behind the back. It's not your fault technically, yeah. So sometimes you can ignore it, but of course, one of best ways I would say is to know your goal of your communicating with the audience, with your like listeners, whoever, and whatever is happening to make this as one additional tool, one additional step for you and your audience to reach this goal. It's kind of genius approach. Not everybody can improvise this way, but the more experience you have, the more fails actually, the more fails you survived, the easier for you to do that. And again, coming to the very first idea, remember to keep this poker face. So keep calm, keep self-confident. Even if something happening behind your back and you're going to tell about it, just continue like dealing with that. Even if it's visible that it's like they fail and all those kids running and dropping the books, continue, smile, maybe say sorry and go on. I would say
I have to tell you, like, one of my favorites is this guy, this TV professional expert who didn't lock his door, and the kids came in marching in. And what I absolutely loved was this constipated look on his face, together with his hand trying to give signal, like, just leave. And these, I mean, these things happen, but we can also, first of all, we have to think before they happen, because this way we'll be able. The first conversation, the first speaker I had was Simon, who said that what he expects in greatest entrepreneur, but it also can be quoted when it comes to great event specialist, is that to see a problem and solve it in spite of everyone telling you that it didn't need solving.
Yes.
So that's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And talking about this speaker, by the way, who forgot to lock his door, his mistake, from my point of view, kind of, if we go into this like ant loving and find some typical like minimal details, like minor details, his mistake was this like movement of his hand. So this movement was panic movement. So if he wouldn't do this movement with his hand, if he just continue, it would look even much better from my point of view as public speaking trainer. So.
I don't know if you know that, but this TV presenter who was presenting news pantless made quite a big career later. I think he was invited to many day shows. So sometimes it is a way to get recognized, basically, and to appear in the media. Very brief last question. Why do you think the artificial light is not recommended when we deal with virtual events?
Several reasons. First of all, not any, but majority of artificial energy saving lamps, they produce just sparks, 100 sparks per second, 2 times more than the frequency of electricity in your electric plug. And it even can create this moire with the frequency of camera shots. You're filming yourself or your computer filming you. And well, first one. Second one, almost any artificial light produces very limited range of frequencies of light. Not all the range from visible as like sun produce, but just some specific range. So if you have very expensive professional light, possibly around you, Damien, right now, some professional big lamps, so it's much better than like cheap lamps around me, of course. Anyway, the more expensive, the better. But the most expensive lamp in our and more like valuable lamp in our life is, of course, the sun that we cannot see behind my window right now because it's just night in Poland. So sunlight, I mean, not strict, not clear sky, but a little bit cloudy, a bit cloudy day, or maybe not strict sunlight into your room, one of best options always.
Thank you very much for appreciating the lighting here, because actually it's just one bike light and Nicholas is pedaling to keep me basically well visible. Thank you once again, Aleksej. I just have to tell you that we have very positive feedback from Monica, very energetic speech from Lucas. Yes, so once again, thank you very much for being here with us, for first of all for getting us a bit entertained, but also for selling us loads of very useful information. Once again, thank you very much.
And thank you very much for this great possibility. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have an amazing evening. All right, as you all see, different things may happen when we create a virtual event. I mean, they also happened when the events were normal, but right now they can go further. They can be broadcasted all around the world. So, but the question is right now, how long we'll have to, or we'll be able to, create virtual events, because this is quite unusual for us as people who are responsible for this industry. And right now we're going to talk more about what does the future hold for virtual events with Christopher Pleydell. And I'm just going to very briefly read you quite a few things from Christopher's bio. Christopher Pleydell is an events trailblazer with a multitude of firsts to his credit. He has been producing, promoting, and designing live event experiences for over 20 years. His roots are firmly planted in the rave subculture of the 90s and smashes youth culture. Grass level movements, arts with corporate communications through live events. I have to say that we have a few speakers who really enjoyed the 90s and took many lessons from it. All right, we're going to talk to Christopher after the break. Hello, Chris.
Hi, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. That's not something you would normally hear at a live event.
And it is so appropriate here, isn't it?
It is, it is.
Christopher, you created hybrid events in reaction to the pandemic, and in your own words, as an industry, we had no choice but to move away from live events. This was the last resort and an education. Very accurate, very true. But what do you think? How long this situation is going to last? Will the virtual events stay with us for longer? And what the future holds for virtual events?
Well, a simple answer is that virtual events will only be here for as long as they're needed. And that's a very clear, very precise answer. The technology we use for virtual events is exactly the same technology that we have been using at live events for the last 10, 15 years. We are very used to these event apps, and that technology isn't really going to change.
But you don't need, like, right now, you don't need big venues, you don't need catering, you don't need many things that we got used to throughout those years of normal events. Right now, the situation changed. And for example, I even said it today, that many people from event agencies that I know are waiting for this situation to come to an end. They're waiting, they're looking forward to get vaccinated. They expect the vaccine to bring back the normality. I'm just using the air quotes intentionally. So what do you think is
I mean, it's wishful thinking. 2021 is a holding pattern. It's going to stay as a holding pattern. We had a lift of restrictions in the UK in the summer, and venues could open to 50% capacity. We did an experiment, quite a few experiments very quickly, with hybrid events. And we had a virtual audience, and we also had the audience at the venue itself. Now, with virtual events, they're the first one that I pivoted. Ticket prices had dropped by 50%. Interestingly, by the time we got to the summer and we had this first hybrid event, ticket prices had doubled. And I've no idea how much we could have charged for the actual being at these physical events. Sponsorship had dropped 70% with virtual events. Getting sponsors is hard for virtual events. They get very little out of it. But at the physical event, they were willing to put money in and partner you and be part of the kind of revolution of let's get back to normal physical events.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I've seen, the clients, the investors also changed their way of thinking, don't they?
I don't think they've changed their way of thinking. I think they would, just like we are as an industry, We're a $10 trillion industry of direct spend. We're a huge industry, and we had to do something. We got clients, we got to fulfill the brief. There's a budget already in place for their marketing campaigns. They needed us to come up with something, and I praise that, the work. I mean, that some of the apps like Hopin and Brella and SpotMe and Glisser and, the platform we're using this evening. I mean, it is incredible the work they've done to step up to that. Yes, Damien.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I'm not going to interrupt you anymore. I'm going to leave you with our viewers for you to continue your speech.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll screen share a presentation, which covers, hopefully, Damien, and quite a few of your points.
Getting ready, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're ready for our last presentation in this part of our conference. At 10 o'clock, you'll have a chance to participate in the panel of our experts. I think, Christopher, you're also going to be
I'm trying to share, and we had this in rehearsal, actually, and I don't know why it is not picking up the tab.
I always say that the most beautiful things emerge from chaos. That's just remembers the birth of Venus, basically. So the most beautiful things emerge from chaos. So feel free to try.
Well, I mean, if it doesn't share, I mean, it doesn't look like it is going to share. What I will do is I will talk us through it. I mean, I would like to take us.
All right. So the floor is yours, basically. I'm out.
Yeah, I'll talk you through it. I mean, I did make a presentation to show, but it's not here. First of all, I want to just show the event industry pre-pandemic. And, like I said before, we're a $9 trillion direct spend industry. And for the last 3 years, we've been growing at 8% year on year. There are 2.6 million businesses whose primary purpose is to service the event industry, employing over 105 million full-time staff. It's a massive industry. Now, when this happened, basically this industry shrunk and it lost 95% of its activity. And in that, the only things that really were still active and profitable were conference and meetings at 5% and trade shows and some exhibitions. And then when you take that 5% and divide it divides down into international and government at 20%, pharma at 30%, tech at 10%, educational at 10%, financial services at 20%, and other at 10%. So 5%, suddenly you've got 105 million businesses bidding for this work. And we don't know, none of us had done it before. Anyone said that they're an expert at this, we're not. We have streamed into events and we have streamed out of events. But on the whole, this was a whole new landscape. After my first large event called Prohibition Live that I pivoted online, 4,000 attendees, 150 speakers, 5 stages, ran for 48 hours non-stop. Now, the attendance was up 300% on the physical event the year before, which is massive. And that was because of the unlimited amount we could fit in compared to a venue, which is a physical space. You can only put so many people in there. Ticket prices, they dropped by 50%. Sponsorship was down by 70%. Average time watching a keynote speaker was 10 minutes per delegate. I mean, the great thing about the virtual thing is that we can get all this data and we can watch people's movements, very, very kind of like almost micro examine it. But 10 minutes, I mean, they would go in, they would come back out, they'd listen a bit. And even if it was the keynote speaker was a big name in the actual sector, they still couldn't hold the attention for 10 minutes. But the average time spent networking was 2 hours per day. And a day I am rating as an 8-hour day, it was 2 hours. People enjoyed the networking. Sponsors, and what did they get in return for sponsoring? Well, almost every attendee clicked on that sponsor's link. And wherever that went and whatever that did, they at least clicked it. I mean, what they did afterwards is very hard to kind of quantify and to follow. Investor engagement with those looking for investment and those looking to invest was really poor. We have a TV program over here called The Dragon's Den, and it's a very much a UK thing. People go in and they pitch their ideas. At this particular event, there was money there to be pitched and won. And it just didn't happen. No matter how much we pushed it, no matter how much we tried, it failed. 70% of my time, our team's time, was spent on creating pre-recorded material because it's safer. You know it's pre-recorded, you know when it is, and you just, whether you're using vMix or you're using any other of the mixing clouds, you know it's coming in, and at least that's going to be great. So, but that took up a huge amount of time. You've heard this, you've had some great technical advice. Line check your key speakers. If they tell you don't worry about it, worry about it. You know, good audio is more important than video. People they will put up with your video freezing, but if your audio stops, you lose the track, the energy, any kind of like motivation, excitement that you're generating dissipates. Good moderators and presenters. I mean, this is absolutely key. And one of the things that I did for this particular event was I employed 5 presenters, and I made them, as part of my marketing campaign, do an interview with one of the keynote speakers, which I then fed out to the audience as a teaser. But at least that gave me a chance to train the presenter in what we were doing, for them to get some kind of subject matter understanding. And then the global reach, the actual reach of people we would not normally reach, that increased by 60%, which is huge. And it is one of the things that virtual events has allowed us to do is we're borderless. So, you know, I get asked these particular questions now, today, all the time. What virtual platform should I use? My answer is always very simple. It does not matter. Now, you have a choice of whether you want kind of the avatar style, or you want virtual reality style, or you want just as we've got right now, you know, a live interactive, maybe some pre-recorded, some video event. The key thing is that they all fundamentally do the same thing. We're looking at a screen from our homes, our offices, and that's it. I also get asked a lot about how secure a virtual event is. Now, I don't know, in the US, you probably didn't see this, but in over here in Europe, it made an absolute storm. There was an EU security meeting happening. And one of the security ministers, I believe it was the Dutch minister, took a photo of himself with his computer in the background, and he tweeted it out. On it was the password into the EU security meeting with all the security ministers from 27 states. A reporter entered it in just as a kind of like a gag, and he turned up in that meeting, and it made the press. So if anyone tells you they're secure, they're not. People can get into them. What can I sell to sponsors and exhibitions? I touched on that before, but basically it's you can sell the data of what people are doing, but targeted networking. But we can sell that at live events as well. It's targeted networking and what does your sponsorship really want to get? Most sponsors, 1 or 2 good sales or 1 or 2 good leads is enough. And that's the same in the physical. How much should I charge for tickets? Well, ticket prices have fallen 30% on that first 50%. You know, so it's now fallen 80%. So its trajectory is downward. Cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. How do I market the event? I am going to push people to think small, regular, targeted. Do the things that virtual events do best. Let's, for Europe, pick a country and somewhere in Asia who would not normally send a delegation over, create something which intrigues them and gives them an opportunity to meet new business leads. Should we postpone physical events for 2021? Yes, absolutely yes. I'm convinced that any attempt to do this is going to just fail and be costly. Are there COVID-19 safe venues or destinations? No, they are not. And it is not showing any signs that there's going to be. So wishful thinking, is not enough. Those destinations are not coming up. Yeah. Will people come back to physical events? Well, human behavior has changed. We've been told continually the messaging of social distance. We now live in a social distance world. It's in our psyche to walk around big crowds of people. In the UK, we had a period in the summer when venues were allowed to open at 50% capacity for business events. So as you can imagine, we rushed together and worked as a team at the design center and the business center and the Excel to put on some hybrid events. And we tried them, and the findings from that were fascinating. The demand for face-to-face meetings was huge. The tickets sold out in a few days. Ticket prices, like I said in my intro, I put the ticket prices set them at a very high price. I thought this is outrageous. People paid it straight away, no questions, no kind of argument. I have no idea how high I could have taken those prices. Sponsors were willing to pay a premium to be part of a hybrid physical event. But there was significant costs in making the venue COVID safe. We've got to keep our staff, our employees, the venue, our attendees safe. And there's an expense to that, but that was offset with the ticket price rise, even though the number is only running at 50% capacity. Virtual tickets demands were highest for a hybrid style event, which was interesting. Venues were more flexible. They started to become like partners, and rather than a silo of their own. They're just worried about selling their space as often and at the highest price as they can. They are starting to open a dialogue with event professionals like everybody here. They're opening up that dialogue and going, can we work together to create something so that we can get an income, even if it's just covering costs? Marketing hybrid events is absolutely one of the easiest things I've ever had to do. I've never experienced anything except for like the Motown 50 tours and things like that that market themselves. This brought a lot of business press, but it also brought a lot of mainstream television and media press across Europe. It was easy. Engagement at the live hybrid event was very interesting. Everybody at the events, these weren't big events. These were kind of like only 100 people in a COVID secure space. But they all interacted with each other. They all, and they all went away and followed up on their connections they made at the physical event. But the interaction with the virtual ticket holders was literally 5%. Hardly any at all. And so, but the virtual event holders were spending 80% of their time. So it's up from 10 minutes of watching a keynote speaker. They watched 80%. 80% of them watched the whole keynote speaker. And their interaction was in the virtual platform. So it shows that even when we make a hybrid event, that actually the people at the physical still are getting the better deal. But it also has a positive effect on those at the virtual. They actually do pay far more attention to it if it is a physical event. We then had restrictions changing landscape again. Venues were closed. TV studios were open, just as a lot, if anyone's been following the trend, the thread or the stage on your production team, green screen, virtual kind of backgrounds, trying to get your key speakers filmed, high broadcast quality. What we're making now is TV. We're not making a little Skype call. It's TV, and people want to be immersed. I keep hearing this. How do we get immersed? We get immersed by creating a fantastic TV program that people want to watch. And it needs B-roll. You need to understand the cutaways, and it needs rhythm. It needs pattern. It needs power and passion. So the next step for us as a company and for me as a self, I teamed up with Excel, and we produced and we have up running a hybrid event studio, which at the moment we're in lockdown, so we can't use it. But it's there, and it's an LED stage set. fully kind of transformable, brandable, and we can film your live show and then take that to the virtual audience. And it's incredibly different to having a green screen behind you. We can do a walkthrough of a red carpet live. It's live, it's not pre-recorded. And the sponsors get huge value of being on the big LED screen, and they're behind the speaker, the placement. It's for want of a better word, it's a real live event that you're watching and you're part of it. So that to me is great. So my recommendations for 2021, are to create these event hubs. Now, that doesn't have to be a hybrid, studio is expensive, but an event hub can be in your offices. It can be somewhere where all your feeds are coming in, and there is a group of 15, 20, 30, 50, whatever your restrictions allow. At the moment, in Australia, they could do, I think it's 100, 200 maybe. In New Zealand, it's unlimited. Make that your hub, and then all the other virtual things plug into that hub. It makes such a difference. Negotiate hard, really hard with your supplier of the virtual platform and your supplier of the venue, and your suppliers in general. People need the work. Our workforce, 105 million people full-time employed, they need the work. And they won't charge their normal daily fee. Partnerships, start to really examine kind of who can I partner with, within the event industry and even outside of the event industry. We're seeing some great innovation, with new software and new technologies. This year, right now, book your venue for 2022. Make that booking now. If you don't, 2022, you're not going to get a good venue. And if you do, it's going to be so expensive for your client or for yourselves. Book your speakers now. Speakers, are not getting paid, to come and give their expertise, share their insights. Book them now. You'll get a good price. Book them for 2022. And then use your hybrid and virtual events to promote your 2022 physical event. So using the targeted kind of outreach, if you like, that the virtual gives, you excite people about 2022. You're giving them something to look forward to, and you might be surprised. I mean, I can be nowhere than where I am right now, but I believe you'll be very surprised at who will travel a long way to come to a physical event once they have had a year of hybrid and virtual marketed at them regarding your physical event. Virtual, hybrid, physical. I would love to say this is going to go in a lateral way, that we're going to go from virtual to hybrid and physical, and it's going to be beautifully kind of seamless, one to the next to the next. My experience of what's just happened over the last 12 months is it doesn't work like that. It's a deadly disease that kills people, and it's moving and it's changing. We don't know. So we're going to be going backwards to virtual lockdown. Hybrid will come into its own, I think, in this year. And there may be a few physical events. And to give you an example of that, the Flaming Lips played a live concert in Oklahoma 2 days ago. And the audience and band were all in bubbles. These big, enormous plastic bubbles over them. And that was the return of kind of live music trying to get itself together. But I will end on this, that human behavior really has changed. It's changed so much that Van Morrison, passionate about music, and he did in the summertime, again, when we had this break of venues, he did a gig at the Electric Ballroom, which has a capacity of 3,000. They only sold 1,000, or they were selling 1,000 tickets, socially distanced, and that his ticket price was the cheapest that he's put a ticket price on in the history that I've known Van Morrison, and he could not sell the tickets. People are fearful of carrying this disease, spreading the disease. They're fearful that actually the event industry cannot protect them. We have to prove this, and it will happen with the help of virtual, hybrid, and physical. The one thing that we know about event professionals is we are inventive, creative, and we don't just fall at the first hurdle. We create, we look outside the box, we reach to each other, we share experience. This event is a prime example of that. And I'll leave it there.
I mean, well, first of all, thank you very much for this eye-opening presentation. You addressed so many important issues that are still ahead of us. But there's one thing that stays unchanged, and I think this is a phrase, I'm going to quote you right now. This is something that each and every event professional should have engraved on his or her coat of arms, which is, if they tell you not to worry, worry. Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to just ask you one more question, okay?
Sure,
I'm going to ask you also for a brief answer since we are almost out of time. Okay, you are known as one of the lead advocates for creating sustainable events. Will virtual events play a part in this process?
Well, interestingly, I mean, you know, I am the voice behind the event greening program, and we've been using Zoom and Hopin for years to save flights, discussing how to clean up events. So I do hope that there will be a place for virtual events to try and take our carbon footprint down. A lot of people in the event industry don't realize this, and I'll just end on this, is we are the 5th most polluting sector in the world. That has to change. That's not sustainable. And that is a big challenge for us all. And I do believe that virtual events has a role to play in that.
I'm going to say also one more thing. I absolutely agree with you, quoting you, that this is the perfect storm for change within the event sector. This is the thing you said, and I agree totally. And I also think that the storm basically is a chance for you to learn how to swiftly navigate your ship. So this is the opportunity we get to learn new things.
Absolutely, and I think something you can't underestimate is that and you've heard other speakers mention this on other streams, but you know, there's a generational shift. You know, a shift of you know, and I hate to like put people in boxes, but they're called Generation Z. You know, they were born in this technology world. They are flexible. They are adaptable. They are not so attached to brands. They don't mind if their brands are not there. At the same time, the fastest growing event sector before the lockdown was esports. People turned up, huge stadiums. You know, I mean, I think the largest one was 250,000 people came to watch screens of the top e-gamers playing a game which they could play at home. So
that is so true.
That is a fascinating kind of like future. And I like to say, I'll leave it there. That was, to me, an eye-opening stat.
Thank you once again. Thank you very much for being with us. And get ready, because you're about to begin the roundtable debate. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, huge round of applause, virtual applause for Christopher Pleydell.
Thank you very much.
There is more to come, of course, because in how many? 1 minute, basically, we'll have, I'm checking on my phone, as you see, on sparkofchange.online, roundtable debate on stage number 1, virtual events, a temporary fab or the future of the event industry. Dear viewers, I hope you enjoyed our meeting. I hope you enjoy the coziness of the stage number 3. And I do believe and I do hope that you're going to stay with us and that you're going to visit us also during the next edition of Spark of Change. Damian Rubańczyk saying once again, thank you very much and have an amazing evening together. Remember, stage number 1 is still working, still functioning, and still giving you loads of important information.
Hi, I'm Michael, CEO of Online Event Support. We manage virtual events, starting from conferences, galas, fairs, ending with team buildings and incentives. What I like as far as virtual world is concerned, so I absolutely love the fact that we can deliver high quality events to our clients from actually all around the world. So we usually work with companies from US, Western Europe, from Asia. We actually rarely see the client in person, and the communication is mostly online, but still we can do the magic remotely, let's say, like this. Our job is to manage virtual events from the very beginning until the end. So starting from scratch, we define the goal, we define the vision with the client, and then we choose the best solution, the best feature of the platform, the best studio adjustment, especially adjustment to the requirements of the client. So we tend to say that we function as like one-stop shop. So this means in one place you can find all virtual event solutions designed precisely to your needs.
Okay, so how to make a good online event? First of all, good script. Secondly, rehearsals, as many as possible. And third, well-prepared team. It's the best way to make a good online event.
So what are the key success factors? So first of all, the platform, and second, the team. Starting from the team, what we did is we combined experienced event managers with tech geeks. So these mixtures allow us to deliver high quality events which are not only well planned, but also strong as far as technological end is concerned. So during the event, you won't actually bother about either contact with the speakers or any technological issues, because our staff will actually deal with it. And professional moderators as well as experienced technicians take care of every single moment of your event, and their job is just to make your virtual event as smooth as possible. Three major assets of virtual events. Number one, budget, because money-wise it's a smart move. Virtual events are much cheaper. Second, speakers, because now you can reach out to any speaker you dreamt of. You save on plane, you save on lodging, and especially on time, because the investment of time in this kind of events is much smaller. And the third one is statistics. So, like never before, you can now measure the number of attendees, interactions, and time spent on each section. So this is a powerful tool to draw conclusions and improve every single event.
Our main goal was to bring real-life events into virtual space. So we're looking for a solution that actually can provide our guests not only with the pretty picture produced in the studio, but the networking possibilities they know from traditional events. So our platform does not only allow to stream into several separate stages, but also to actually interact in a way they know from real-life events. So basically we can set up numerous meeting rooms that can be used as workshop spaces or networking spaces. We can also provide our attendees with one-on-one interactions. They can send direct messages to each other. They can actually schedule one-on-one video meetings. They can use random networking module that actually is a business speed dating option for them. Almost every kind of interaction that we know from real-life events can be brought to virtual space. So basically combining studio production with a powerful networking platform brings online event experience to a whole new level.
We broadcast from the studio in Warsaw, Poland. If you want us to organize your virtual events, just go on our website www.oe-support.com and drop us an email, and let's start working together. This is where the magic happens.